Wow, what a show we have for you this week. It is a double dose of goodness. We are joined by the youngest Elite Series champion ever, the youngest Angler of the Year leader ever, the youngest Rookie of the Year leader ever, the youngest Century Club member ever, Trey McKinney, hot off his win, but we break down everything that happened in the first two stops of the Bassmaster Elite Series with the full behind-the-scenes show with Bassmaster videographer Jake Latendresse. It is crazy. All this includes 11 Century belts and a lot happened in 2 weeks. Trey McKinney and Jake Latendresse join me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks. You're all welcome here at the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. Welcome into the 151st edition of the Mercer Podcast, and I hope you're having a great week. Happy hump day to each and every one of you. As you can tell, my voice is a little raspy. Coming off two back-to-back events to kick off the 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series and two absolutely insane events. And we're going to talk a lot about them. I mean, the first event, obviously, in Manny, Louisiana, Toledo Bend, we had another Bassmaster Century Club achieve. We may have just seen the start of the most dominant Elite Series career, or Elite Series start to a career that we've ever seen. I mean, leaving Toledo Bend, our eventual champion, Kyoya Fujita, now has fished 10 Elite Series events. He has 6 top 10s. He has 2 Elite Series victories, 2 Bassmaster Century Clubs. It's unbelievable. Nobody knows anything about him, but you're going to learn about him today because we have Jake's take back in your life. Bassmaster videographer Jake Latendresse was in the boat with him for 3 days, watched it all go down, and we're going to finally learn about Kyoya Fujita. And just when you thought that it couldn't get any better, we roll up the road to Lake Fork, and what a forking tournament that was. We had 10 Century belts. The youngest Elite Series champion in history, Trey McKinney, 19 years old, and literally was 18. I'm bad at math, huh? Was 18 the week before. I mean, just turned 19. He's now the youngest Elite Series champion ever. He's the youngest leader in Progressive Bassmaster Angler of the Year points, the youngest person to ever lead the Dakota Lithium Rookie of the Year race, and the youngest person to ever achieve a Century belt. And he was knocking on the door of Paul Elias's all-time weight record. So it was unbelievable. And we're going to talk to Trey here on this show and get to know him a little bit because, I mean, just imagine it, 19 years old. I mean, every time I talk to him, I feel like a total loser because I think of myself at 19 and he is doing so much more than I even imagined or even dreamed about at that time. So we'll talk to him. It'll be a good show. But before we get into the show, I got to thank everybody who came out. Record crowds, giant crowds at both venues. Absolutely insane. I love my job, but it's events like these last two that remind me I got the best job in the world. And you guys make it better every single year. So I thank you all for that. A couple of things that I have to personally thank people for. You see right behind me, I have probably the world's greatest bobblehead collection, I'd say, if it's not already. I mean, it's almost there. And we're adding some more. Thanks to Super Marshal Rick Moore. Guess who we got? Clint Eastwood. That's right. If you look closely, Clint was actually on the desk or on the picnic table of last week's mobile podcast, which we're going to do more of those. You guys love that. But check out this beautiful bobblehead. Clint, Dirty Harry, unbelievable. Rick Moore got me this because Rick Moore is a super marshal from the West Coast, goes to a lot of events, has fished, been on the boat with pretty much everybody in pro fishing. But when he's not doing that, he runs security at the Pebble Beach Open. And Clint has Clint's Saloon there. So this is a beautiful Clint Eastwood bobblehead that will be behind me always. And if you ask me in fishing, I've said it before, we have our own Dirty Harry. We have our own Clint Eastwood. It is Jason Christie. And look at there. I mean, it's Jason Christie. It is beautiful. And I believe that they were trying to make this bobblehead, and Clint said, no, you're not doing it right. And he took it and painted it himself. I don't think this actual one. I think they copied it from there. But Clint, you look spectacular. I thank you for being the amazing human being that you are. And hey, you're welcome on this podcast anytime. 5 minutes of your time, we just want to talk about fishing. I mean, I will cling on to the Clint clout in a heartbeat. But regardless, you're going to be on this podcast a lot because you're going to be right back there. But that's not all. We have more bobbleheads. I mean, it was raining bobbleheads. Not only do we have Clint Eastwood, we got a Pat Schlopper bobblehead. This one given to me, not by Pat, but by his parents. I should know their name, but the Schloppers gave me this beautiful bobblehead, and both of them will be behind me forever on. So I thank you for all of the fine gifts, and I thank you for tuning into this show. It's a very long one, but it's got a lot of details. It's got a lot of behind-the-scenes stories, and I think you'll enjoy this. If you got to break it up in a few bits, that's okay. You can do that, but stick with me through this because it is a lot happened. Let's just put it that way. I mean, it's just 2 events into a 9-event season, but man, it feels like a lot more than 2. There is a lot going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of changes in this sport, and we're going to talk about a lot of it on this week's show. And so I should stop talking so we can jump right into it and get to our very first guest, who is the youngest Elite Series champion in Bassmaster history. He is the youngest to co-lead the Progressive Bassmaster Angler of the Year. He leads that with Ben Milliken, as a matter of fact. He is the youngest to co-lead the Dakota Lithium Rookie of the Year, also leading that with Ben Milliken. He is the youngest to ever achieve a Bassmaster Century belt. He is the young fishing phenom that is Trey McKinney. And he hasn't even left Lake Fork, still hanging out at Lake Fork. Let's get him. Trey McKinney, you are the youngest person to ever win an Elite Series event. You are 2 Elite Series events into your elite career, and you are currently leading the Dakota Lithium Rookie of the Year and currently leading the Progressive Bassmaster Angler of the Year title, co-leading with your buddy Ben Milliken. What? I mean, could you even have dreamed of this moment? You know what I mean? Like, I know you've worked hard, but did you ever imagine 2 events in it be this?
No, not at all, really. Basically, like I said, when I was going, I just didn't want to step over my head. I've seen, there's a whole bunch of those comments. It's like, or on TikTok, motivational stuff that's, when you're scared to jump is the time you should jump, and which, there's probably a lot of truth to that, but that's also scary, that's like, that's just big balling it, let's just jump in it and see what happens, good or bad, let's go type of thing, and that's hard to do. So I'm glad we done it. I'm glad we chose the path that we done. There's a lot of other variables anymore. There's so many different places you can go. But then I got to talking with a lot of people, and you just think of the Bassmaster Classic. That's like the Super Bowl. You have all these other trails and everything. You can, possibly go pro as well, but the Bassmaster Classic, there's just not another thing out there like it. And I figured this was my best route. And did I think it was going to go like it has? Not really. No, to be honest with you. Like I said, my mom's always real positive. Like, she'll slap me and be like, hey, now stay positive and everything. But, I try to be a little bit of both, a realist and a little bit of the positivity and everything. So I was like very skeptical on it, but I'm very glad we chose the path we've done now.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked out pretty good, I'd say. When did you start? When did this dream start for you? At what age when you said, hey, I want to fish for a living?
Absolutely. There's multiple little things that you can say when I was old. You have to be old enough, that you realize what it would mean to you. And I feel like, we always have a dream. Hey, I want to be a pro fisherman. I want to be a pro fisherman. But you don't realize what that would mean to you till, you get maybe just a little older. Maybe I think I was probably 13 or 14 till I really knew what it meant. To be a pro angler, to be up there on the top level, to be able to compete with some of these guys, and to be able to hoist the Blue Trophy. That's it just means the world. It's an unbelievable feeling. I got up there and I was just like looking out there at the crowd, and it was pretty amazing.
It's busy being.
Yeah,
Elite
I'll
Series
take a
champion.
picture here right in a second. You mind if I do this podcast real
No,
quick?
get the picture. Just take the picture right now. Tell them to come do the picture.
Okay.
Let's do the picture.
Okay, hey, come over
We'll
here.
talk
We'll take a
amongst
picture.
ourselves. They can be part of the
hang on one second.
podcast.
Yeah, hang on. I'll show you guys. We got this guy. Absolutely, come on.
I'm an old man who's been fishing this lake since they opened.
Absolutely. Hey, it's all good.
60 years old, and I am impressed.
Well, thank you, buddy. Trey
You know
McKinney.
what? You got God on your side, brother.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what does it.
Absolutely.
But it was phenomenal. I watched all 4 days on the screen, and it was to watch you work like that. You were working hard.
It was stressful. I'll give it to that. It was stressful. We're going to set this right here. We're going to get us a picture.
So the fish out here, used to you come out here and catch 50, 100 fish a day, but they got smart,
They got smart. They got smart.
and I really appreciate it.
No problem.
So my wife was wanting to know,
We'll turn it around right there. Perfect.
Yeah, look in the sun. It'll make a better picture.
Awesome.
my wife was wanting to know how you started fishing. Did your family fish? Did you?
Absolutely. So basically what happened is let's say we're on a podcast right now.
Yeah,
Say
Yeah,
hi.
yeah.
There we go.
You should watch the Mercer
Right.
podcast. We answer questions like that.
All right, awesome.
Absolutely. So basically what it was is we basically started and we had church tournaments, everything else like that. So I really got introduced to it as of that age, and we were kind of just going into it. And I knew I like tournament fishing, but I didn't know I like what we done just now. You know, it was a different feeling. And my buddy Rick Cheatham, he took me along, and we done a lot of tournaments, and we started in the juniors, and then we went to the high school, and then we're like, now where do we go? You know, and we started. Sure, you've heard them, like I guess back in the day, they're like the Redmans, the
Right.
Bells.
Right.
So I started that, and we ended up. I won Angler of the Year one year, and I was like, you know what? I mean, this was against my like local heroes and everything, and I was like, you know, maybe we can do it.
In
Maybe
Illinois?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I was like, I need one more year of confidence, one more year of learning all these different tricks that these guys spent their life. So we done one more year of the BFLs, and it went Angler of the Year again. And I got talking to a buddy of mine. He got me convinced to fish the Opens. So it was kind of like it's a big thing to step into. Like
Right.
the Opens.
This
I
is
was
a big
like,
deal. Yeah.
yeah, I talked to everybody. It's like, man, the Opens, you have the best of both worlds. The pros
Thinking,
fish it.
no way I can compete with these guys.
Exactly. And I really got that feeling when I weighed in the first day, 14 and a half pounds on Lake Eufaula, and I was sitting like 60th.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I stepped in over my head. I was like, I don't know what we need to do. And right after that, the next day we maxed up with like 20 pounds, and we jumped all the way up into the top 20. And that gave me that confidence,
Right.
and we
But
just
you
kind
gotta
of
have.
exactly,
Yeah.
you got to have a little confidence in yourself fishing and trust in your gut and everything. And that's just what we kind of just built on that.
Right.
So it's
That's
pretty
awesome.
amazing.
That's
So,
cool.
absolutely.
Listen, congratulations.
Thank
It was
you, buddy.
awesome. It was awesome to watch you work.
I thank you, sir.
And,
for watching.
God is good, man. He's got big plans for you.
Yes, sir. I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good day,
You
buddy.
too, brother.
Stay
Thank you.
safe. Safe travels out there. Let's hop back in here real quick.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of your life now, dude. Like, I mean, is it weird for you to be recognizable? Like, literally, you were inside, you stood outside for, we started this, we're a minute in, and people are asking for your picture. Is that a weird thing for you to deal with?
It is. It's not overwhelming. It's a great feeling. Some guys will tell, sometimes maybe it gets a little old, something like that. You get bothered. It's not so much that if I, me as myself, can live a dream and inspire other people, I mean, I feel like that's why a lot of us do it. I feel like if we lose sight of that, it becomes work. It becomes maybe not as fun. And so that's one thing I hope I never lose. I feel like anytime I can inspire a little me, I mean, that's exactly why I do it, to have him do it the right way, follow the right path, try to do everything. I mean, honestly, on the right path and the right way will get you so far sometimes. You can take shortcuts, stuff like that, which sometimes, it's fine every once in a while, but, just trying to do it right the right way. People sometimes really recognize that, and that means a lot to me.
That's all I kept thinking it's weird when I watch you guys hold trophies. I think different things for different people, but the whole time I just kept thinking, and I said that to you backstage, like, imagine what a 15-year-old version of you, how motivating it would have been to see a 19-year-old win an Elite Series event. Have you thought about that at all? The impact that you will have on the sport long-term?
I'll tell you what, that's a really important thing. I feel like I've had a lot of kids, we went down to a Mexican restaurant here a while ago, and just sitting down eating, I was just me and my mom was sitting there, and I could feel this guy staring at me, and I was like, okay. I was like, I didn't really know where he was, but I was like, like scanning the room. like kind of getting awkward, like where's he at? And I finally caught a glimpse through the wall, and I saw him or whatever, and he come over and talked to me, and he's like, my son has been watching you. It's really inspiring to him and everything. And just a person like that just coming up to me and saying that is pretty cool. And that's why I said something on live on that last fish I caught. I mean, that is all I've wanted to do, give somebody a chance to, follow their dreams. When somebody, you might be shy, you might be like, man, I can't make it. For somebody to, hopefully that can see it of what we just done is to be like, okay, maybe I should shoot my shot. Maybe I can do this. It's you versus a fish. No matter what you stand up against, that's really what it's about, is you figuring out how to catch the 5 best fish out of the whole field. And once you learn that, and I started to drift away from that, I was like, okay, we got all these good people behind me. I got to beat them. What if he catches a 10-pounder? There's so many different things at this lake right here. Of all lakes, I would never have thought I would have done it here, but it's amazing. But it's so much going through your mind. And if you just cut that out and be like, okay, when's my next bite? What cast is it going to be on right here, this moment? And if you just keep focusing on that, for me, I'm going to go a lot farther.
You keep saying we, and I think that's fitting in your situation, because it feels like to me that this moment, this career, it wasn't just you, it was your entire family.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's been, when I say we, it's there's so many people that come into that. Rick Cheatham he's basically, he's taught me basically everything it means to be me. I'm going out there. He's taught me how to not so much the fishing part of it is just trying to be, professional, trying to be just genuine, not trying to act like, okay, he always tells me, he's like, you go out there and be yourself. That's what I want you to be. And, just for somebody to say that is a lot more motivating than going out there and be like, okay, focus this bite. You have to focus on this. If I can just go out there, be myself, and go fishing on what I love to do, it's amazing. He's pushed me so far, taught me so many things. I've met so many people through him. There's so many people that's just helped me along the way. I forget one time, I hadn't been fishing that long. I don't have that much wisdom on, changing a tire, for instance. We're talking about the simple stuff. Like, I'm talking, okay, I got a flat tire. What do? I got these tools, put this together, put that together. And I'm not heavy enough. I'm not strong enough. So I'm like jumping on it, trying to get the nut to break loose. And he comes out there. He's like, you want me to show you how to do that? I'm like, you know what? That'd be really awesome. And he just like puts this together and resituates it, and it goes and breaks right loose. It's just the little things that he has taught me, and everybody that has taught me, just simple stuff like that. It all comes together, and it's been really important.
When did your relationship, because you mentioned Rick on stage, he traveled with you to all the opens, from what I've heard. When did that relationship with him start?
Absolutely. And that was actually, so I have a buddy at home. When we used to build our house, we had a bricklayer, and he loves crappie fishing, and his name's Dale Croft. Okay. So I had fished a little bit, always had farm ponds. Everybody that I knew had a pond around me, I'd drive my four and be like knocking on everybody's door. Hey, can I fish your pond? Can I fish your pond? Everybody that would let me fish your pond, I always daily, weekly, I'd always be there fishing, and just something about it I loved, when I could trick something in its natural habitat to bite my plastic rubber worm. I love it. It's pretty cool. But it was very young. After I went with him and started fishing, I would bring my bass rods, crappie fishing. He would be like, man, you don't need those things. We're going crappie fishing. I was like, I'm just going to tag along, take them. And every once in a while I'd start catching bass where we were crappie fishing. And I was like, okay, this ain't a pond. This is a lake. We're catching a few. And I was like, man, it's a different world. You can go everywhere. You can start the boat. I can run over here. I can run over there. It was really cool just to be out there because I really didn't have a boat or nothing yet. And first of all, we kind of met some people through the store, and he had a rough time. He had tried, and he went through a divorce, and it was a rough time for him as well. And he's like, yeah, I'll take him. So we got out to Lake of Egypt as our home lake, and he took me out, and we really clicked. It's different. I think he would probably be like 55 at the time, maybe. Almost, I would say something around there, 58 something, and taking like a 11-year-old kid out fishing. And sometimes like, why you ask this question? Why you got to do this? Why you got to do this? Like little things, little me would do that would just, annoy you probably. And somehow we clicked really well. And he took that burden, and we just traveled so much together. And it was pretty cool, the memories we've had. I mean, I've been in the boat with him when he's caught his personal best. And I mean, it's been an amazing journey. We've just kind of grown together. You know, we started as a coach, then we went to more of a mentor, then we went to a partner, and now he's supported. It's crazy how it just took so many little steps at a time.
So what was the phone call with him like after you finally won the event?
It was pretty special. You know, I answered, and the first thing is like, is we done it. You know, it's he's like, man, he said, you know, I would have been proud of you if you wouldn't have won it. And I was like, I understand everything. And when he said, you know, you don't always have to be on top. He said, I'm gonna be proud of you no matter what. He said, I know what we've been through, I know what we've done, I know the journey that the Lord has put us on here for, and how many people you're gonna inspire. And he's like, we've done it. You know, it's an amazing thing. I mean, he said, I wish I was there. He had some stuff going on back home that he couldn't come. So unfortunately on that part, but you know, we got a long career ahead of us. So hopefully we can get him on maybe the next one.
I talked to a bunch of your family members, some family friends that were all there Saturday, Sunday, whether it be takeoff, whether it be backstage. And they all claim to have seen this coming. They all claim to have, like, from day one, we watched him fish and he's different. Are they just saying that because you're successful? Or do you think, like, through your whole life, did it feel like people said this was your path?
You know, it has been really weird. People's always said, like, when we go fishing, you know, I just go fishing. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I've always took that as an compliment, is to try to figure out everything. I let it, and it is a bad thing. It's kind of like kind of gambling at the same point of it, you know, where it's like bass fishing are pretty well professional gamblers. I mean, it comes down to it. And like hunting, I love, basically all I do is hunt and fish. And to be out there in the outdoors and learn their ways, that's like, it almost consumes me, like, more or less. It's that I've always been kind of a weird type. You know, everybody's like, well, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going fishing. They're like, you know, it's a weekend. Like, you want to go out, you want to go do something, go to a water park, go do something fun. I was like, no, I think I'm gonna go fishing. You know, I just always, every day I can, any day I got free, I'm always out there trying to learn that next thing, that next opportunity, that next little technique that I can get a fish to bite that maybe somebody else might not. So everybody's always said that, but I've always just, you know, blow it off, be like, oh, I don't know, man. I'm just, you know, I'm out here fishing just like you know, I'm not doing anything different. We're just out here having a good time and everything. And everybody's like, well, you're doing something different. Why are you catching 2 to my 1 or 3 to my 1 or something like that? And I'm always real competitive. So it's always like a tournament. If we're going fishing, anybody ever goes fishing with me, it's going to be a tournament. We gonna have our fishing against each other. So it's been amazing though.
So you didn't.
I should. We got minnows back home compared to y'all. Absolutely. But it's thank you, sir. But it's been an amazing deal. I mean, I just take it, and like I said, we're just gonna let it every little step of the way, just more techniques and more techniques. And now I've really got, I mean, everybody's seeing them, like the Japanese guys, they've really like intrigued me. Like, you see all their stuff that they throw, like a hairy dice. It looks like a sugar cube with little finger legs on it. Like, I mean, why would a bass bite that? I mean, in my defense, I look at that thing and I'm like, if I was a bass, I wouldn't bite that. You know, like, what does that do? And just like all different little techniques. So I'm looking around, looking how people fish and everything. My goal is just to kind of like not steal other people's techniques, but just kind of try to master everything. You know, if I'm really not good on ledge fishing. I don't know why. I just never. I can catch them, but I can't find them like these guys. You know, they go out there and they idle. They're like, oh, right here on the map. This is it. That's the money spot. I'm like, that's a hump. Like, what's different from this hump to that hump? You know, and it's learning all this little stuff that I can apply at these different lakes. Like, I'm a shallow water guy, and I use active target to help me. I use it as a tool and everything, like I did this week. You know, I moved out there over that deep water, but then that last day I got to catch them how I like to catch them. You know, when I woke up that morning, I told my mom, I was like, they're up there. She's like, what? I'm like, they're up there. She's like, well, what do you mean they're up there? I'm like, they're up, they're getting there. They're moving up there. I saw a few fish yesterday and I could notice them. They were doing some weird things. They were coming up there relating to stuff they don't relate to if they're not getting there. And I showed up that next morning and I pulled up in that pocket. And I just turned to my camera guy and I'm like, they're here. He's like, what? I'm like, they're here. And he's like, okay. And I mean, I had a tough time getting the bite, but I had the confidence that I knew they were there. And that's what something really special to me on that last day. I got to go out and catch them how I love to, and catch them kind of have fish my roots, but just a lot bigger than what I'm used to. 7-pounders, not at home. I never catch them like that, so it's pretty special.
Does it frustrate you that your entire rookie class is pegged as a group of dudes that without forward facing sonar, you couldn't catch a bass?
It kind of is. What I take it as, I don't take it personal, not at all. I figure if somebody really cares enough and they're following me, everybody knows back home that's not what I come from. Everybody back home would tell you, he's like, yes, can he catch him on it? Is that a tool that betters him as an angler? It absolutely, but I love going back, fishing dirty water, flipping laydowns, getting shallower. I hope you can never see my boat. That's the deal at home. If the water's somewhat high, if you see me in a day, you're doing good. Like I'm so far back up in that stuff. So far, I mean, I love that stuff. That's what I eat up. And so that's one thing, I don't let it bother me. I mean, it is unfortunate, there's some people that rely on it more than others. It's just part of it. But I love just being able to be versatile. That's kind of how I've been my whole kind of trying to learn, is being versatile, always being able, no matter where I can go, is try to cut a check. That's kind of my goal. I mean, smallmouth, everybody's like, oh, active target smallmouth, you got it. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I went up to St. Lawrence last time and placed 88. So I was like, it kind of, I was like, hurt my soul. I mean, I was out there throwing a jig on smallmouth, scoping around. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was out there just trying to get them to bite, and I figured out how to get them to bite the jig. But I mean, I didn't know I could have just thrown this little thing and they'd have just, ate it. I didn't know that. And it's just the little stuff. I have so much to learn. I mean, I was out there. This is how I had to catch them. So I would see one, and I'm like, all right, I'll throw my jig on his head, and he would follow it down and never eat it. I was like, okay, we're going to have to switch something up. So I would somehow sneak attack these bass. I would see them swimming, and I would throw my jig because the water's so clear. I would throw it like 20 foot way out in front of them where they couldn't see it. And I'd watch them, and I'd keep a mark on where my jig was, and I'd keep letting them swim, and they'd swim like a bedding fish almost, and they'd swim. And finally, when they get over it, I would just like pop it on the bottom or something. Then they would like stop, and they would look down, and I would just like inch, and they would come down and eat it. That was the only way I could get them to bite it. But just little stuff like that I could find and realize how I get these fish to bite it is special to me. That's what I want to learn as an angler, is just how to tease fish into biting it, and it's pretty cool. You get to tease something in their natural habitat to bite something that's not real. I love it.
Where do you personally think, what do you think the future of forward facing sonar is in competition specifically? Do you think we'll see changes?
I mean, I think we'll see changes. I feel like, I don't know if I'm hitting it on the head here. I mean, of course there's, to kind of suit everybody's boat, there's got to be something to happen where there's not like over, everybody at some point, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's just part of it. But I mean, it's still not gonna, there's too much money out there in it, and it's such a good product that you can realize how fish move, how they work. Yes, it's going to make them tougher to catch because everybody can catch those fish that hadn't been usually pressured in a little while. But another thing about it, if they just limited to one or two, to kind of meet everybody's good to go, type of thing, instead of everybody running, like 5 transducers, people get upset. I understand it. I get it. Everybody wants to see an old-fashioned shootout, which I mean, I understand it, but it's definitely not as easy as what it looks. But, if we could just meet a happy medium with everybody, limit it to 1 or 2 of any choice, wherever you want to put it, each boat, you can have up to 2, or you can have up to 1, just something like that to kind of float everybody's boat. I think would be a good start. I mean, I don't want to be a opinionated person or anything else like that, but I feel like that would kind of meet everybody. I mean, it's not going to be one thing where it's not going to just stop, but it almost can't. It's so good, if you understand it and everything else like that. Which and it's a really cool product just to kind of see them. I love it. It's intriguing to me because I get to see a fish in their natural habitat, get to see how they line up, get to see how they set up, get to see how they swim, how they react to different baits, different colors. There's so much that's good with it that some people, might not see, but it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing product. So, I mean, there's going to be changes, but I hope it's for the best. I hope everybody meets a happy medium and everything goes good, really.
If it went away, would you be panicked?
No,
I didn't
not
think
really.
so.
That's no, I really wouldn't. I mean, I have plenty of stuff that I love fishing. You know, I get out there, and when I figure, I always tried last year. I always have, you know, like an active target pattern, a scoping pattern out there that I was like, okay, if my shallow deal don't work, where I just get to go fishing and run patterns, I'm gonna go out there and do that. You know, like there's always that side of me. That's what I love. You know, I've always had those tournaments last year where I'd always have my other pattern that I know I could get that 12 to 14, maybe just fishing. And then I would always have something on my in my back pocket that, okay, if I do this with my axe dart, I might be able to catch that 4 or 5 pound range fish, you know, that kind of puts me over the edge. So I mean, I wouldn't say panic. No, sir. I mean, it's gonna be it would be great to still have it on some I guess techniques I've learned that are really, they're really deadly. But you know, I feel like if we took it away, everybody back to scratch, I feel like I wouldn't panic at all. I would love it. I would just go back to junk fishing, and that's what I love.
Yeah, I mean, you fell in love with this. Clearly, fell in love with the sport before that was even a thing. So it's. I honestly hate it for you guys that you guys have to put up with. I mean, to me, you've worked hard to get here. You deserve to be here. You've proven you. How has your first 2 weeks, other than obviously it's been good because you're leading angler of the year and winning tournaments and stuff, but you must have had something in your head that you figured, okay, my first few events, and I don't mean finish wise, but as far as like interacting with the guys and everything, has it been what you expected coming into it?
You know, there's always it is an amazing deal. Like I said, I've always, like I said last year, the Polnick, everything like that. I mean, I've always kind of looked up to Polnick. You know, his content's real professional. I mean, he's living the life. You know, he's got his wife, his kids. He's got the pulls the camper, he pulls the boat, like whatever. That's what everybody dreams of. You know, that's living the dream right there. And I've always kind of looked up to that. That's always what I've wanted right there. And just to live on the road, have everybody with you. And I mean, it's pretty special. You know, all the guys have been super great to me. Of course, there's a few that's like, oh, action target, you wouldn't have that. You know, it is what it is. You know, it don't bother me. I want to think I don't let a lot of stuff bother me. You know, I do me. And hopefully the Lord sees that and he pushes it the right way, and it's going to lead me the way he ever wants me to. So I don't let a lot of that even cloud my vision. You know, I just go out and do what I think is right and try to follow the right path. So, but no, other than that, all the guys have been great. You know, Gerald Twin will always have you with a smile no matter what. You know, I mean, a lot of them guys are so funny. Just when you see them outside of the tournament fishing world, you know, they're all really good guys, it seems like.
So if Polnick was always your guy, that must have been a pretty special moment when he jumped up on the stage to get a picture with you.
It was, you know, and he's like, man, he's like, soak it up. And I was like, that's what the first word he come up to me. He's like, dude, soak it up. And I'm like, yes, sir. You know, like, I mean, it's wild. You know, I had a lady wanted to take my picture at this was all like, this is what I've lived. I'll never forget this moment ever. He's probably, if he ever sees this, he'll be like, oh my goodness, here he goes saying it. But I was sitting there in the boat or whatever, and this lady's like, she's looking around, like, he's like, I want a picture. But, you know, me and Brandon was talking, and she hands the phone to Brandon and is like, hey, would you take a picture with me and Trey? And I was like, I about fell over. He's like, he pointed at me, he's like, soak it up. He said, this won't happen all the time. So, I mean, just that's like, that right there is unbelievable. You know, he's just a really good guy. I mean, I look up to a lot of those guys like that. I mean, he's a super special dude.
Do you even think ahead like this? But I mean, if there is any negative from your start, it's that, I mean, you didn't really have to pay your dues for a long time on the Elite Series. Clearly, do you worry that this came too early at all?
You know, that's what I'm saying about jumping in over my head. There's so many fisheries that we're gonna go to, like St. John's. Oh my goodness, you know, like I have no idea. I went there in pre-practice and I caught, let's see, 1 bass the first day, 2 bass the second day. I was like, you know, this is great. This is awesome. This makes me feel like I cannot catch a bass. You know, it puts you in a few kind of like swirls. It's like, man, I hope it changes, you know, like it better change quick. So, I mean, it's very intimidating. Like the northern swing, I better learn quick. You know, I was like, I'm gonna go up there and spend as much time and work as hard as I can to learn how to just get in the right areas or find the different baits or just find out how to catch those fish like these guys do. So that's one thing that I feel like I'm lacking is like tidal waters, never fish one. That's the first one I've ever set foot on. can't say I'm a fan. I love it. You know, it looks cool. It's a beautiful place, but it's something I'm gonna have to learn very much so. And I like shallow water fishing, but that's different. That is different. You know, I go. I mean, I love river fishing, like Mississippi River, like La Crosse. I thought about fishing the open there because that place has a. I mean, that place is something in my heart. I love that place. Like, love it. And so I thought about fishing the open there, but those type of places I love, you know, fishing, you know, the right current breaks and all this. And I was like, you know what? It's just a river, Trey. Come on, let's just do it just like a river. And I had one bite. So, you know, it's not gonna be easy. There's a lot of stuff on the schedule this year that's kind of a little scary. But we just gotta put in our time, watch as many videos as we can, learn as much as we can in a short amount of time. And hopefully don't bite me. But like I said, it's always next year and the next year. We just gotta keep learning as quick as I can.
Why'd you choose to not go the college route with competitive bass fishing and college fishing? So, I mean, you kind of skipped right over that and went to the opens and obviously qualified, and the elites has worked out all right for you.
Yeah, that was a hard choice. You know, I had a lot of opportunities to go to some really great places. You know, I liked a lot of the guys I was eventually, you know, I thought about going to when I was in high school. And I was thinking, I was like, you know, I don't have a whole lot going. And that was kind of the joke back home. I was like, man, I hope fishing works out for you. I'm like, trust me too, you know, like, I mean, it's kind of a sacrifice is what I've really done. It's kind of just, I don't have anything else. You know, I was going all for broke is what a lot of people would say. And so it is a it was it was a hard choice, really, because I knew if I went that way, got a business and marketing, something in that nature that would be good all around. You know, if I met some people in the fishing industry, say it didn't work out, I could always have a job in something I love. So I thought about doing that and everything, and I was like, some guys just like, you know what, go with it, man. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, just let it go. I'm like, let it go. I was like, dude, what if what if I don't make it? I mean, he's like, you're still young. He said, that's the beauty of it. He said, you're still young. He said, what's the worst that can happen? I was like, you go out there, you don't do it. I was like, yeah, that's pretty bad. Like, you know, that's pretty unfortunate there. And he's like, you know, he said, just go out and do it. He said, just try it, go for it, shoot your shot, and college is always there. I'm like, you know, I was like, that sounds pretty good. My mom's like, you know, I mean, my mom's like, what if you think you can do it, you can go for it. You know, she's like, I'm always here. I'm proud of you. I'm gonna support you. If you want to make that choice, I'm gonna let you, you know. And I mean, for them, I wouldn't even know letting a 17-year-old just go, you know, just like, hey, I was like, hey, mom, I'm gonna go practice. She's like, what? Like, yeah, I'm gonna go down to Alabama for about a week, go down there and pre-practice. She's like, you know what? She said, if you want to do it, go. I was, I'd be gone for a week, sleep in my truck, anything I had to do. So, I mean, it's been a very special deal, but I mean, the college deal is great. It really is. You know, the thing that you have to think about it is you get to travel all these places for free that I haven't even been to yet that we're going to go to eventually.
What is your long-term goal like? What would
Yeah,
you
we're just gonna
like
keep. Yeah,
to
we're gonna keep it
accomplish?
simple. Yeah, we're gonna keep it real simple. We're gonna try. Let's make it to the classic. You know, let's just fish the classic. That's the one thing that I've always wanted to do, fish the classic. And I mean that's been a dream of mine forever, get out and stand in a stadium full of people. I mean, that's wild. That's something that not everybody gets to experience, and I would love to do that. So hopefully we can just stay in the top 40 this year and make the classic.
Is that kind of frustrating for you? I always think about that with rookies. I mean, a few of them, like Milliken, will fish the classic. Obviously, Tyler Williams, Kyle Patrick. I mean, all the guys that got wins last year will fish this year's classic. But you're riding high, hot off a win, and you got to sit on the sidelines and watch that. Is that frustrating?
You know, I had my opportunities yet last year. I really did. You follow Oklahoma, what it was, and hats off to Joey. I mean, he earned it. I mean, it was his tournament. That's all I can say. When I realized at this time, when it's your tournament, it's your tournament. You know, I'd always tried to push it, everything else like that, but it was his tournament. I mean, I think he caught like a 3-pounder that bumped me out in like the last 2 or 3 casts. So I mean, like I said, it was his tournament. I broke off a lot of fish that I mean would have definitely secured it, but it's all right. You know, it got us here, and I'm good with it. You know, I'm gonna go there. Hopefully, y'all come out, see me at the classic.
So you said this week you learned when it's meant to be your tournament, it's meant to be your tournament. I had a moment this
Really,
weekend where I literally said on live that you were going to win. Did you have a moment Like, when did you start to think that I can win this?
When I caught my jerk bait, I was like, dude, what? You know, it's like little moments like that. I was like, what if this is it? You know, like that was the second day, still a lot of fish to be caught to even think about winning. But I was like, shoot, I was like, that don't happen every day. I was like, or that ever happens. And I was like, this could be it. Like I would go to sleep, and honestly, I slept really well. Like that's the one thing that I can say. I slept really well, and when I woke up, I was just ready. I don't know what it was. I was like, it's another day, another 5 bass, and we're gonna go out there and we're gonna try it. You know, like I was very, very good on that part of the thing. I got to thinking about it, and all of a sudden it was morning. You know, I was just like, shoop, gone. I was laying in bed thinking about what I was gonna do, and all of a sudden it was just my alarm went off. You know, and then we'd get up and we just. I didn't even really. I know that had that one area that I started in, but other than that, any other place I went, I really didn't even. I was just like, we're just gonna go here. We're gonna go right here. I don't know why, but we're gonna go right here, and that's what it was. It was just, I love that being able to run off the gut feeling, and really for me, I was targeting more of like the north facing pockets, and I didn't realize that. And in tournament, I got looking, and I was like, Trey, I was like, you need to realize some of this stuff. Like I was like looking at my map, and every waypoint I had was on a north bank or a north facing pocket. I was like, come on, man. I was like, ding, and it like clicked right there. And I started running and everything, and I was like, there's fish, there's fish, there's fish, there's fish, there's fish. And when I realized that, I was like, we got a shot. You know, it was I seen some stuff, and a lot of people were struggling for some from. I mean, I didn't understand it because I figured everybody was finding the same stuff, and really, I didn't have much competition. I had one boat and one thing that I wanted to fish on. But other than that, in a little lake like this, that's pretty crazy.
Just so you know, it was the exact same moment that when you thought it, I thought it. I said, I live. Well, like it's true when you, and the crazy thing is I just found out that Coop did the same thing on the final day of the tournament. That 5-pounder, he was sat, and you guys don't know this, but all day while he was the only one that didn't have 100 pounds. And there was like 35 minutes left or something like that. And he ended up breaking off a 5-pounder, ended up catching the same fish again. That's what got him in the Century Club. So he was meant to be in the Century Club. You were meant to win this tournament. It's pretty unbelievable. But the one thing that I think I did unearth this week is, dude, you're so unflappable. It's amazing for 19 years old that you seem so put together. But when I saw you in the morning, dude, you were a total train wreck, just like every other 19-year-old. Is that how every morning is? Like it takes you a while to get there?
It's a Red Bull in my right hand, a Twinkie in my left, and we're just kind of chilling. You know, I gotta listen to my music. Yeah, I'm really not the greatest morning person. I like to do it. You know, I'm a person that gets up either 5 minutes before, jump in the truck, don't know if I got everything, get to the ramp, be like, oh, whew, thank goodness I got everything. Let's go fishing. I'm either that guy or I'm the guy that gets up way before time and just like piddles real slow of a morning, trying to get everything ready. It's either one of the two. I mean, I very much so prefer the other one, but sometimes I hit the snooze and then I'm like, wait a minute, this is a big day, Trey. We got to get up right now, and fly to the ramp. And it is. I was that last day. I got as much sleep as possible. And I was a little rough that morning. I will say that I was a little rough that morning. I had needed a little bit more Red Bull than what I drank because I was a little rough.
How did you celebrate? Did you do anything to celebrate afterwards?
Really, we went out to eat. I tell you what, we went out to eat. All my people that come from home, we went out to dinner, and that was a pretty special time. You know, I walked in the restaurant, and all of a sudden everybody started clapping and
Wow.
hooping and hollering. People I didn't even know, and that was a pretty special moment.
Yeah, it's Lake Fork's an amazing community, but it's cool to have. I mean, just as we've been talking, you know, people just roll up and you made history. I mean, it was a history making week, and I can't wait to watch your future unfold. And I thank you for being the person that you are. I mean, I think that I don't think you'll ever know how many people you motivated this past weekend by just being you, but keep doing it, dude. It's awesome to have you on the Elite Series. You're a light of happiness every time, other than when it's like really early. Then he's not so.
Yeah, don't talk to me. I need my time. That's like I'll talk to you, but then I'll just be like real short. He's like, man, what's wrong with this guy? And I'm just gonna be like, it's the morning. It's the morning. You just play along. But no, it's pretty special, and I just want to thank everybody for following along. Like I said, I mean, just on Instagram or whatever, I've gained so many people that wish me luck, reposted on stories. I mean, every one of y'all, it's been awesome. It's been pretty cool to watch it. I mean, it literally changed overnight. Like I went to bed and I had like 9,000 followers, and I woke up the next morning. I'm like, Mom, look, and we had like, I think we're at almost 20 something now. So I mean, just to have that jump, it's unbelievable. You know, it's a point that I didn't really think was going to happen, but we just gotta let it roll, and hopefully we can keep doing it and just keep shining a light on some of those people, and hopefully we can stay on the right path and be good. So I'm still young. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that can change a path real quick, but we're gonna hopefully try to stay true.
Well, keep being you, and I got a feeling you're just getting started.
I thank you, buddy.
Thank you. How about that kid? 19 years old, and man, so put together. I mean, if I was 19 and accomplished what he did, I would be unbearable. Like, I wouldn't make it to the third event. I'd just be a mess. But he's put together. We've been hearing about him for years, and boy, he lived up to the hype. He is literally 2 events into his Elite Series career, already an Elite Series champion, and basically leading everything there is to lead on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Unbelievable. And as I said to him in our conversation, I feel like he's just getting started. And guess what? This podcast is just getting started, because now we're joined by Bassmaster videographer extraordinaire with the full behind the scenes of everything that happened on and off the water at the first 2 Elite Series events, Jake Latendresse, with another edition of Jake's Take. Jake's Take back in your life. And dude, we're 2 weeks in, 2 events, 2 weeks into the Elite Series season, and it freaking feels like a lot more.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
How much electricity was, I mean, I don't want to jump ahead to Lake Fork, but both crowds, holy crap. This thing is growing like someone poured, it's like superfood on Bassmaster, because this is crazy, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, Toledo Bend was incredible crowds, and Fork, I think those were the best crowds we've had since it was the TTBC. You know, and
Right.
I've said for years, we're kind of dealing with a bit of a hangover in that community because, dude, when Gulf States Toyota ran that event in Octagon, it was so big. I mean, we're talking Trace Atkins and all these different, 35, 40,000 people in the crowd. So when your town has the Olympics, why do you want to go watch the Pan Am Games 2 years later, right? Like, it's
Right.
not to sound like a dick. Does that make me sound like a dick? I mean, I think it's normal.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it is what it is, right?
I just make me sound like a dick.
It's not it's you, Bubba.
It's me. It's not what I said. It's just me being me. So, and then there's the whole craziness of, like, do we get into
the F word?
The F word.
We'll start calling that the F word.
Here's what shocks me. It shocks me that it exploded again. Like, it's like all winter. I mean, every podcast, I got to the point where I was tired. Like, I'm trying not to talk about it. Well, all winter, it was all that was talked about. And then it's like people are surprised that it's a big thing when the season came. Like, I mean, has this not been, I don't know.
Hey, again, I don't want to jump ahead to Lake Fork, but the last day, the weigh-ins on Sunday had a totally different feel. Like, I mean, it was like the change of guards, and it had a bizarre feel to it, and it had a new feel to it. And, we're going to talk about that when we get to that point. We still have Toledo Bend to talk about, and Kyoya Fujita.
Yeah. And I would say, in defense of, it's 2 weeks into the season, it's a little early to be calling a changing of the guard. But I will say this: There are some freaking awesome young anglers on the Bassmaster Elite Series. And in the history of mankind, youth is undefeated. So, which I think makes everybody stronger. We'll deal with
I
that
agree.
later.
Yeah.
Let's start it. If I was better at this job, I'd be like, let's start at Toledo Bend, but not. We're all over the place. But Toledo Bend kicked off the season, a great event, great crowds, as we've said. Talk to me about day one.
Day one, not a lot to talk about other than the fact that I was with Welcher. He's the reigning AOY 2023 Angler of the Year winner, and so um, I was with him, covering him on day one. And honestly, there's really not a lot to talk about because his fish didn't get going. Some of them moved, and there wasn't a lot that happened. I think he weighed 15 or 16 pounds that day. And as you know, that wasn't enough to really do diddly squat at Toledo Bend.
So then you left our Angler of the Year and hooked your bumper onto our eventual champion.
Kyoya Fujita. I was with him for 3 days, and I didn't know how it was going to go because I've never been in his boat before. And I'd heard rumors, he likes to he hates a strong word. He doesn't like to be around the media. I don't know if it's because he has so many secrets to hide, or if he's got his broken English is so, you know, uh, limited that he can't communicate like he wants to, and he feels insecure about it. I don't know what those reasons are, but I will tell you this: he is always, every day, the last person to put his boat in the water because he wants to avoid the media. So
Really?
yes, he is. You watch at every event, you'll see he will be the last. And that's not like he's in line last. He waits till everybody's done and you're just about to announce the invocation and national anthem, and he's putting his boat in the water. That's a fact.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And you think did he tell you it's to avoid media, or you just assumed that?
No, I was asking Sego, do you know where Kyoya is? And he said, oh, he'll be last. He doesn't like the media, so he will be last to put his boat in the water. And I said, okay. So I literally just stood on the dock waiting for him because I have to do my job. And my job is to get the angler wired up with audio and then shoot an interview about what we're going to do that day and what happened on day one. And then, shoot clips for live and the takeoff and all that. So it's a bit challenging for me to get my job done when, a guy puts his boat in the water 5 minutes before takeoff. But I think he was actually, I think, like 54th or 53rd or 54th out on day two. So that gave me some time to at least sit down and talk to him. And again, I don't want to paint this, racial picture of me or whoever I'm with, but I do get teamed up with a lot of the Japanese guys, so that because my mother's Japanese and I can speak enough Japanese to make them laugh and feel comfortable. And so I think a lot of the pairing comes up with Taku. It started with Takahiro Omori, at Wheeler a long time ago. And so making them feel comfortable as part of my job. So the first thing I do when I jumped in Kyoya's boat was start cracking jokes and tell him, what my mom used to tell me when I was a kid in Japanese. And I think from there, things get comfortable, and it's a fun time after that.
And I don't think it's a racial thing. I think it's just a communications thing. I mean, if we had a deaf angler on tour and there was a camera person who did sign language or was fluent in sign
True.
language, they probably get paired. So,
True. Nice save, Dave. Thanks.
but I did put pressure on you because as soon as I saw you were paired with him, I don't know if I called you that night. I think I texted you and I'm like, you need to get everything because he really does up to this point. And you're backing in last story doesn't help pull away from that, but he really starts to feel like this guy who's not here to play any of our games. He's just here to take our titles.
I'm not so sure that's not true. He's here to win.
Yeah.
That dude is here. You know, my mom, when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me, as she raised me and motivated me to be good at whatever we decided to do, all three of us, me and my two sisters, but all three of us, she would say, and it's a Japanese saying that still today, I still hear it today from Japanese people. They say, number one, you be number one. And that's the goal, to be number one. And I think deep down inside, any competitive athlete or competitor from anywhere in the world, but particularly Japan, they have that in their mind, that they have something to prove, and they come over here, and their goal is to seek and destroy and win and be proud of that.
So I probably should ask you, Bendigo, what, when you said you started cracking jokes and telling them stuff you learned, what did you tell them?
Well, as any mother would tell their child, especially an ornery boy like I was when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me how to sit down and shut up, and she would say "Udasai na hayaku," which means hurry up, get in the damn car and shut the hell up.
You said that to Kyoya?
I've said it to Taku. I said it to Takahiro Omori. I've said it to Kenta. I've said it to all the Japanese guys. I've said it to Sego when I first met him, that those are the words that I know in Japanese, and they always laugh. And from that point forward, there's a friendship is started from that.
I felt good that I say Ohio to them in the morning, which is good morning. I thought I was really doing good, but
Ohio gozaimasu. Yep.
That, listen, I get carried away. I just say Ohio.
That's the formal way to say it. Ohio gozaimasu.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I saying?
You're saying a very good morning to you, sir.
But that's not what I would ever say. I've never in my life said a very good morning to you, fine sir.
I don't know how to say good morning, bitch.
So you got off to a good start, connection through your Japanese lineage.
Mm-hmm.
What does this guy do? What? Nobody knows nothing about him. He won't show his baits or anything. It's all up to you, Jake.
Dude,
that was what my text said. Find us.
My phone was blowing up. Yeah, my phone was blowing up all day. And then that night, people were asking me, what's he doing? Why is he so different? And after having been with him for 3 full days now, the only thing that I can tell you is he knows he's so in tune to the fish, because he's not doing anything different. He's tracking back and forth, looking for fish the same way everyone else does. I will tell you one thing. He speed trolls when he's covering water. He's got that trolling motor on super high, and he's moving fast. And as soon as he sees a fish that he wants to target, he reverses it, and literally it's like putting brakes on. And I was thinking about that podcast you did with Swindle, talking about what do you call those two back trolling motors on the blades?
Crappie brakes, bass brakes,
Okay,
forward facing sonar. They came from the crappie world, and they might have had to stay there because there was a lot of them that were not connected to boats at the end of these 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I shouldn't say that. Listen, oh gosh, they're gonna hate me for that.
Can of worms.
A few of them got disconnected. I think it's also maybe user error.
We were in timber and lots of stumps.
Yeah, that's
Toledo Bend is like playing bumper pool. And in fact, the first time I was ever on Toledo Bend, a long time ago, my very first angler to cover there was Mike Iaconelli. And he and I actually went to dinner on Saturday night at Toledo Bend with John Cruz and that whole group. And he and I talked about that.
Weirdest group ever. John Cruz, Mike Iaconelli, Brian Schmidt, and Ed Lochran. It's like anyways. Go ahead.
So, anyhow, he puts his brakes on. He knows how to stop his boat on a dime so he doesn't get too close to his fish. And then, you know, he's got the big 22-inch NBT marine screen on the front of his boat, and he's just got it dialed in to the point, and his gain is high as anyone I've ever seen using live scope. He's got his gain cranked up like almost maxed out. I looked at the number, and he's way up there. And so he uses that, and he knows, like, he made me stand right behind the passenger seat, not in the back corner of the boat, not in the middle, not to the right side of the passenger seat, right in the middle behind the passenger seat, to balance his boat out, because he runs his trolling motor with his left foot, and his back foot is angled back to the right, so that imbalances his boat. And for me to counterweight it behind the passenger seat, he wants it flat. And I thought that was being a little picky at first, but after watching him, you know, over 3 days, I understood why, because that little off balance is the difference between a perfect an absolute perfect cast, and what he would consider to be an imperfect cast. And I truly believe, now that, you know, I've seen this enough with front facing sonar, that they know where the fish are. They can find the fish, and as the fish get more and more wise and adjust to the whole, you know, invasion of front facing sonar, the cast is the most important part. And he can tell which way the fish is facing. I mean, let's face it, you know, when the fish looks elliptical, it's either facing you or looking away from you. Most of the time, it's looking right at you, because they know the boat is there. And then when you cast past it, and, you know, he's got all these Japanese guys have the same action on their little sonar minnows or whatever they're using. And,
It's like a
you
shake,
know,
right? But
it's a shake. It's a shake and a constant retrieve with
yeah.
a shake. And all of the fish that he was catching were all suspended. They were in 21 to 30 feet of water, and they were all 10 to 15 feet down. Every single one of I shouldn't say every one of them, because he did target a few that were on the bottom, but for the most part, the ones that were active, like we all know, were suspended in the open water. And it was fascinating to watch him. It was quiet most of the time, mostly because of the language
Well, you
barrier.
told him to sit down, shut up, like right off the get go.
But, you know, it's he's fascinating to watch, because he's so focused on what he's doing. And um I really don't know how to explain it. It's minor but really acute details that makes him different than most everyone else.
Every pro, and I mean, he's only been on tour for a year, but pros that I know that have shared areas with him, that have fished beside him, they're like, he's just better at it. He is just, you know, I mean, Fighter told me a story. He was like, he's hammering bass right beside him. And that during that time, and Seth Fighter, he's one of the best smallmouth. This is smallmouth we're talking about last year. Smallmouth anglers on tour. Nobody would argue that. But Fighter's like, I mean, he had 10 and I had 2. What was his conversion percentage? And I know you did, it's not official, but did it feel like you that he marked a lot of fish and didn't catch them, or what did you think?
Let me start with this. He never lost a fish. Every fish that he hooked up on, all 3 days that I was with him, he landed every single fish. Never had one. I don't think I'm almost positive he landed every fish that bit his bait. And he didn't have these magical baits. I mean, he had, you know, I don't believe that whole concept is based around the bait. I really don't. Tungsten obviously plays a role in the visibility on the graph, and it shows up better. And I think that's where the market's probably gonna, you know, it's already going that way. They're just making sonar visible baits more visible, because it's so important. And I truly believe that his casting ability is probably what makes him different, and he knows how to make them bite. And for him to make them bite even a neutral a neutral fish, he makes it bite by getting the cast right in front of their face. And it's with surgical precision. I truly believe that.
It's the exact same, in my opinion, watching him. It's the exact same as watching Greg Hackney fish a jig around trees. I mean, and there's no, for a lot of people, myself included, forward-facing sonar technology, there's a mathematics I go through in my head. I mark a fish 60 feet away. I'm like, my boat's 20 feet long. It's going to be 3 of these, and that's where I cast, and it's about right.
Right.
For Greg Hackney, when he sees a cypress tree, the bend of a tree, the knee of a tree, he hammers it. He doesn't stop to do that calculation. He doesn't stop to think. And a lot of people with that kind of a technique do because they've just done it thousands and thousands of times. That's what it's like watching Kyoya, in my opinion. It's not, he's dead on. He hits it every time, and no different than it's so important to hit that exact right spot in the tree. It is just as important to hit that exact right spot in front of the fish.
100%. That's when, I've been back and forth on this whole front facing sonar thing because, some of my friends are against it. Some of my friends are way for it. And you just go back because you can see both sides. There is some mental and emotional validity to both sides of it. Okay. That's undeniable. I don't argue with anyone about it, but when someone says that's not fishing, that's when I start to disagree based on what I've seen, particularly, recently at the end of last year and the beginning of this year already. It is absolutely fishing. And yes, that gives them the opportunity to make casts at fish that they know are there. That's the advantage that front facing sonar has. But it's not like every single one of those fish bite every single time they cast. I bet you the ratio is what, 10% or less on getting bit. And it's even getting harder because those fish have had more pressure on them now. I mean, I have a whole story with Ben Milliken that he pulled up to a tree that he knew there was going to be 7.
We'll get there.
I know. I know. There's so many amazing stories from
We're
these
never
two
going to finish.
tournaments.
Okay, tell the Ben Milliken story. I shouldn't have stopped you. Go.
No. I'll wait because it's
if
really.
You don't tell
it,
people will be pissed.
Okay.
Make a note, Jake.
Okay, so you mean then or now?
I don't know.
Let me get back to Kyoya.
Yeah. I'll just shut up.
Okay, so it's absolutely fishing because they have to be so precise with their casts, and then the jiggle and the bait, I think, has a lot to do with it. Keeping that bait a 16th ounce, jig head with a 3-inch minnow on it at 12 feet, not 12.5 feet, right in front of the fish's face, is not easy. They're guiding their rods to keep the bait right where they want it to. And I think that's where he's dialed into all this. And again, I don't argue with too many people about what side of the fence they sit on with front facing sonar. But when people start saying it's not fishing, I agree. It's not their traditional way of fishing and the way that they grew up. It's not power fishing, but it's still fishing.
We went to a gathering the other night where me and you were talking, and Brandon Feen was there. Young Bassmaster videographer, friend of yours, obviously protege, I would say, 21 years old. And we, when I turned to him at one point and I was like, it's not traditional, but everything is going to be that way. Like, that's just how the world has evolved. And again, not saying it's right or wrong. I am so thankful I'm not Chase Anderson and have to figure out the direction of this in the future because it is not cut and dry. But you can't penalize a generation for not doing it the exact same way. I mean, I know how to read maps. I know how to get to places. I asked Brandon, I'm like, why didn't you read a map when you need to go somewhere? And he didn't even have an answer. He's like, what? Well, why would I? I don't have to. It's just not how I grew up. Like, and I think that people, so getting to this, does anyone get to a location and be like, hey, you got here the old fashioned way, right? With a map. You got confused and wandered around town for a while, refused to ask people directions. Nobody judges you better for that. You know what I mean? It's just a different.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know half the streets I'm on nowadays. It just says turn right
Same.
now, and then I do.
Right.
So yeah, it's, and I think that's also what allows them to trust it more. Remember when you didn't always trust your GPS? I do. I remember when I didn't always trust my graph. I remember, you know what I mean? When things just, but Brandon Fiend and all of these young guys, that's what they've grown up with. That's, you know what I mean? They find it funny that we used to carry calculators, or people used to have a calculator because they've got it all in one device. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah, they don't know what a CD is.
Yeah. Well, why would they though?
I asked Brandon on the way home, I said, man, we talked about the comparison between what I went through. I say me because I'm just speaking for myself. What I went through with digital camera technology from film and the transition. I remember the very first digital prosumer, digital video and still camera on the market that came out. It was called the Sony Mavic. And I bought one, and the media was a 3.5-inch floppy. Okay. And I asked Brandon, I said, do you know what a 3.5-inch floppy is? And he was like, I've heard of it, but I don't know what that is. So, and that was, that was really, it was only about 15 years ago. I think it was actually 2003, 2002 or 2003 when that came out. So it's been about 20 years since digital cameras have come out. And I remember, I want to say this because I think this is important. When I'm comparing what I'm talking about to what the older guys that aren't necessarily, happy about front facing sonar and tournaments and all that stuff, I remember feeling the same way. I remember when digital camera technology really started to become a prosumer level, and all these people from YouTubers and everywhere else started coming out of the woodworks because they thought what I did was really cool, filming hunts all over the world, taking pictures of cool people and all that stuff. And they wanted to be a part of that. And it was inspiring to them to watch what I was doing, watch what Overstreet was doing, Sago, the list goes on. And it was overwhelming when we got overrun with young guys with digital cameras that they bought at Best Buy or B&H Video or wherever, and coming into the world watching YouTube tutorials, learning how to do it overnight, and all of a sudden they're sandbagging the market from a day rate perspective so they can get jobs. And we were standing there going, what in the hell are we going to do?
Yeah.
And we just had to adapt. I had to do the same things. I had to go out and buy because I was further along in the industry than they were. I had a little more income than they did, so I could afford to go out and buy a red camera, which took me above and beyond what these young guys were using. So I think there's a parallel there, and I've talked to Lee. I talked to Lee about this a lot on Sunday, before and during weigh-in, and you can tell who worked on their front facing sonar skills in the off season. One being Stetson Blaylock. Look what he just did. And Justin Atkins had, they're tuned into it. And Lee and I talked about this. He goes, whether I like it or not, if I want to continue to provide for my family and the sport that I love so much, I have to adjust. So that's what he's doing.
We got into them forward facing sonar weeds again, didn't we?
I know, but it was going to be inevitable, right? I mean, that's what these first two tournaments was all about.
Yeah, it is. I guess I'm shocked that it just exploded the way it did. Like, it just seems like all of a sudden people were like, like, look at this Aldane video where he goes and tours guys' boats and sees what they have in there. And you see in that video, I mean, but it's been coming, and nobody was surprised to see that. I mean, how many times did I say the word forward-facing sonar, electronics arms war, or whatever we were referring to it all through the winter? But it really feels like it just exploded this week, like it in these last few weeks. And I don't know. I don't know what the right way is. And I know people, every time you say you don't know, I mean, there's a lot of different concepts and things that are floating around about what the future is.
It's also new and it caught everyone off guard. I mean, it was like a
But
tsunami. It was like, holy crap. Like we've known about it, but all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is unbelievable.
yeah, but I think we knew. I've thought about this. I know I've
Obviously.
really, obviously we've all thought about it a lot, but I've
Yeah.
thought about this. Like, why is it the kettle boiled really slow and then it really exploded? Um, but you look as far back as Patrick Walters win on Lake Fork. That was a big coming out for it.
Huge,
Any of the St. Clair
huge.
tournaments for smallmouth, there's a big coming out for it. But I feel like, is it wrong to say that in some ways people are more offended by it now because you have people that are riding it and people that are it? That is their power fishing. That is what they do. When you had Jason Christie going in and out at the Classic and doing both ways, people just forgot about the mornings. I mean, people just talk about him fishing those docks. And is it that these kids are that good with it and that's all that they do? They're fine to put their hand on their hip and cover water looking for bass because they know that their odds are up. You know, is there any truth to that? I don't know. Like,
I don't know either, but I will tell you this, I've covered high school and college national championships for
yeah.
quite a few years now for Bassmaster. And when the critics come out, again, I'm not choosing sides. I'm just saying what I've seen, okay? And when I covered uh Tucker Smith win national championships in high school. I covered Hayden Marbut, win national championships in high school, and then again win national championships at the college level, go to the college brackets, all those things. They were fishing traditional ways. Trey McKinney knows how to go catch fish the
Well, yeah,
traditional
but
way.
that's
I,
just
I,
that's a
I,
internet.
I know it's a critical um, point of interest that to me isn't true. And I just wanted to make that clear because those guys take some heat for something that's actually not very true at all. They know how to bass fish. I'm not saying, they would have won a tournament if they've been doing that now yesterday or the day before, but I'm saying they know what they're doing. They're very well educated and they understand how bass work, which is part of what they've integrated into their front facing sonar system. And while you take Lake Champlain, that big open water pelagic um, bite that they were on there, and then you turn it around and you bring it to Toledo Bend or Lake Fork, or even better yet, take it to Lake Okeechobee, and what Steve Kennedy did last year and what Scott Martin did in that open this year when he won there. Those electronics played a big role in 2 and 3 and 4 feet of water. And
Yeah,
so what I see happening are these guys are adapting to all the different water levels. It started out in the open water and in front of the creek in the mouth, where the creek meets the main lake. That's where it started, and that's where the primary focus is still now. But these guys are moving into shallow water and they're understanding it better. They know what they're looking at. And to me, it's just going to continue to adapt because we're still so early in its birth of the technology that every single day that they go out there, they learn something new about a fish that they saw. And
yeah.
and I can't wait to tell you the story about Ben Milliken.
You are teasing this strong. Well,
Stay with us, folks.
here's the other thing, though. Like, if you really pull it apart, they're doing exactly what has always been celebrated in this sport. Jeff Gustafson and what he does with the marabou jig that started it took 20 years to win a class, to become a big thing, and obviously he was moping in the class, but you know what I mean? Like the marabou jig was a little secret, but that's what's been rewarded in tournaments when you're doing something that not everybody else is committing to. So whether it be go as far back as flipping, You know, Rick Clunn talks about D. Thomas coming and people saying they wanted that to be illegal. It was all the same narrative. It is, that's not fishing. That's not the fishing I grew up doing. That is barbaric. That is this. This is different. Obviously, it's a technology, but they're on the leading edge of what's getting the biggest bites right now. And that has always been, whether it's Kevin Van Dam being a master of the ledges the way he was long before people, whether it was David Fritz with a flasher, you know, it's being that. And then other people, big baits, when swim baits became a big thing, you know, out in Clear Lake and stuff like that. It was the person who did it first that gets rewarded. And they're doing this first, committing to this first. And it doesn't feel like they're getting rewarded, but I don't, again, like, dude, it's the wildest freaking topic ever, because it never ends. Like, I don't think, like,
I agree. It
and
never ends, dude.
Here's the narrative.
Where do you draw the line? That's the question. Like, I mean, Bill Dance, this is a really interesting story, and this is something I've been saving to tell Ben Milliken, because we and I were kind of talking about the change, what advancements have changed the game, right, of bass fishing. Bill Dance told me one time, this was 2 years ago, I was shooting an interview with him. He told me that a story about Kentucky Lake, where I grew up, Camden, Tennessee, in Beaver Dam Harbor, where I grew up, we were relating this common denominator that we had, and he knew this area of the lake so well. And he goes, Jake, let me tell you a story about what happened to me in Beaver Dam. He was in a tournament, I believe it was it was like mid 70s. Okay. He was in a BASS tournament on Kentucky Lake, and his trolling motor died on him. Like, his trolling motor died. His battery didn't die, his trolling motor did. So he went into Beaver Dam Resort, used a payphone to call his wife in Colliersville, Tennessee, which is about 2 hours away, and asked her to overnight ship him a prototype trolling motor that he had at his house, because he didn't have a spare. And this was like day one of the tournament. So instead of shipping it to him, she unpackaged it, got a ticket on a Greyhound bus, got on the bus, rode up to Camden, Tennessee on a Greyhound with a trolling motor in her seat, because it wouldn't fit in the overhead or underneath compartments. She had to sit with the trolling motor on the bus, got to Camden,
That
Tennessee,
is love.
gave it to Bill. He hooked it up, he mounted it on his boat, and then he realized this was the first prototype of a 24-volt trolling motor system, because everything else was 12 running on one battery. So he had to go and find another battery. He bought another battery, fired it up, hooked it up, fired it up on his boat. Literally the next day he went out and never ran out of trolling motor, never ran out of battery on his trolling motor. He ran the entire day, and helped him, I believe it helped him either finish in the top 5 or win that tournament. I don't remember what he said, but it helped him vastly in the success of that tournament. And then after that, everybody that saw what he did wanted a 24-volt system on their boat, so they wouldn't run out of batteries. So where do you draw the line? Where does technology start and where does it end? I have no clue.
I don't know. And here's the weird narrative that has gotten so popular, and once again, I'll get roasted for this because I work for Bass, and I'm going to say, I mean, me and Davey talked about it last week. We've never been given a narrative. We've never been told you can say this about it. You should say this about it. The narrative that's out there that Bass is forcing this to happen is the furthest thing from the truth. Absolute garbage. And it's really lazy because, and a few people said to me this past week where they were like, well, we're being forced to do this. And I'm like, well, no, nobody's being forced. And these weren't anglers. Like, they were other people I was talking to, but they said they're being forced. They're not being forced. I mean, remember who put them on there? At no time did Bass say put forward facing sonar on your boats. They just started showing up at events, and some guys loved them. A lot of people ignored them, and they are what they are today. Mm-hmm. But there is no part of me, like, Bass is the big monster pushing this technology. Bass
No way.
is the monster that has to deal with this technology. I've never asked him, but I can guarantee you that if Chase Anderson, if somebody said, hey, how about like this forward-facing sonar is never invented, he's probably just as happy, because the narrative that, okay, well, they're getting sponsored by these companies. They were sponsored by these companies before there was forward-facing sonar. You know what I mean? So they're in a weird position. So God knows what the future is, and I'm sure we'll hear about it all in the comments, because it is a topic, like you said, that is all over the place. I have people on both sides. I have friends on both sides, and I feel for both of them. Like, I honestly, veterans that are like, man, this isn't the 30 years
Fishing.
of knowledge that I had.
Mhm.
And all the, I agree. Yes, you're right. It's not, it's a totally different thing. But at the same time, I look at those rookies and I'm like, they shouldn't be getting hammered for chasing their dream and being successful.
They're not doing anything wrong.
No,
They're
no.
doing everything right. I mean, they're not, and they shouldn't have to deal with the criticism that they are, because they're just doing what they know and what is legal within the parameters of the system. And it's not just Bassmaster, it's basically all the tournament circuits right now. I'm sure some new concepts are going to be popping up now that there's so much controversy behind it, but they're not doing anything wrong. They're just doing what they think is the right way to go about it, and they're winning tournaments, and the bags are bigger. Dude, we just had 10 freaking Century belts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
It's insane. The bags are bigger. And part of that's, I mean, there was a drought there, and now the water's up, and there's other reasons that play, but it definitely is an effective way to catch monster fish. I just think, I mean, look at ShareLunker since forward-facing sonar started becoming a thing. Texas Parks and Wildlife does an incredible job, but there's been more ShareLunkers caught. It is an effective way to catch giant fish, which, hey, what was before? Swim baits were an effective way to catch giant fish.
Hey, man.
It's what we've always kind of looked for. But bottom line, it's just if you don't think Bass is working on it, you're nuts, because it is literally every meeting, every level, every department is talking about it.
Every conversation backstage, no one wants to step in it either, but we have to, because it's technology, and it's obviously making a big splash in the industry. And, everyone wants to say, well, this is all about money. Well, that's easy to say, but at the same time, if you watch the cast, this new series that, we put out at Bass on FX1 about the history of basically Ray Scott's vision, tournament bass fishing, that entire series is about understanding where we came from and where it started and why it happened. And it's all about the advancement of technology. Even when Ray Scott hired Helen Sevier and Bob Cobb initially, that was about marketing through print publication, and how to market the brand and how to brand it. And then once they established that, it was all about growth. It was all about having everybody in the same boat in the first classic, with the same electronics, with the same exact equipment. And we've just advanced from there. Like we've talked about before, why do we have 250 horsepower limits on the outboards? Why do we have power poles and Raptors and Talons? Why do we go from flat? I mean, dude, it's almost exhausting. It's like thinking about how deep the universe is. There's no clear end to it, right?
Well, and here's one thing I can guarantee you. Just by us having the conversation the way we've had it, probably piss some people off, because people want to hear a stance. They want to hear you are for it and you are against it. And if you are for it and they are for it, they're on your side. And if you're against it, they're against it, they're on your side. If you're in the middle, they think you need to choose a side. And I think that the fact that we are all in love with fishing and we're forcing people to chase, it's an insult. It's an insult to have people who say things like you need an asterisk on this and that. Dude, that is gross. That is showing no respect to the pros that came after you. I would never say something years, you know what I mean? That'd be like me walking across the stage and being like, Kevin Van Dam's Angler of the Year titles, his 7 are worth more than Roland Martin's 9, because when Roland Martin did it, he was one of the only dudes doing it full time. And Kevin did it against the majority of anglers that were doing it full time. So you would assume, no, it's the time. Your job is to do as good as you catch the 5 biggest fish you can catch with everything that's legal. And will this change in the future? Maybe. But it's not changing this year. I mean, they all agreed, or as far as I know, they'll never change it in the middle of the season. They might make an announcement, hey, we're going to do this in the future if they decide to, but everybody signed up under the same rules. It's not fair to take it away. Enough. Let's go back to Kyoya. You got something you want?
I was going to say, I want to give a guy credit for bringing the 22-inch MBT marine screen into the marine, the front facing sonar world too. It was actually Jacob Fouts. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
It was on the St. Lawrence River. I remember he had it, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I was just joking. I'm like, "Can you like stream the football game in on that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I could actually split screen this, watch football and my graph at the same time." So, and I patted him on the back on, I think it was day 3. He's made I think both cuts in these first 2 tournaments, and I patted him on the back when he was standing in line at the tanks at Lake Fork, and I said, "Congratulations, you brought the 22-inch screen to all this mess."
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. All right, let's move on from that, because it's
endless.
Does he ever? You said he's incredibly focused. Like, is there ever a relaxed moment in the boat? Like,
he likes my posts now on Instagram. Like he participates. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think it made him feel comfortable. He ate a lot more than most of the other Japanese anglers that I've been with. He didn't eat as much as Kenta Kimura drinks Red Bull, but he stopped to eat a few times, and he does relax. But man, when he's got that thing going, he is freaking dialed in, and you don't want to like, I didn't even want to eat potato chips in the back of the boat because I don't want to distract him.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, did you distract him at all?
No, I never did. I'm careful like that. And he did cover. I will say this. He had his back. So he's got 3 graphs, a Humminbird and 2 Garmin's on the console at the driver's seat. And then he's got a 22-inch and then like 3 15-inch screens on the front of his boat. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. And he covered when we pulled up to every spot. If we moved, he used his graph to navigate and possibly look for bait fish. But then as soon as he pulled up to a spot and he was going to get up to the front of the boat, he put his Garmin cover on the console graph so that I couldn't film what he was doing. All right. And that's not criticism. He just has things that he knows he does that he doesn't want the world to see yet. And so there was nothing I could do about that other than just, zoom in on his front 22-inch screen.
Do you think that'll start to become a pattern where anglers try to cover that stuff up?
I think the Japanese people always do it.
I am so glad that you've Japanese lineage, because you are really profiling a lot on this show.
I'm okay with it. It's just something I noticed. They're very secretive. And we've talked about this with Brandon Polinick and Lee and other anglers. They come from such a high pressure fishing society and they follow trends so quickly. I mean, as soon as you start a trend in Japan, if you want to get rich, go to Japan and start a trend. You're going to get rich because everybody follows the lead. And I think that's why they're so secretive. And I still can't pinpoint what Kyoya Fujita does that's so secretive that makes him that much different than everyone else other than his casting accuracy, because his baits aren't different than everybody else's. I promise you it's not the bait.
He's just better at it.
He's just better at it. Yep, exactly. Tuned in.
Was he do you see any nerves in him or anything like that? I mean, on stage he
No.
just seems rock solid. I mean, the only
He's
thing he actually honestly seems uncomfortable with is when you shove a mic in his face, which understandable. If I was in Japan, you put a mic in my face, I'd probably be a little uncomfortable too.
yeah, I think again, I think that's just a cultural and language, barrier. He's scared he's going to say something wrong or not know how to explain something. But I think I will say this, his English has improved a ton
Big
this
time.
year from last year. He studied the language during the off season, and that's pretty apparent that he worked on that so that he could get better at it. I really like him. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anyone, likes or doesn't like him in the circuit, but I like him. And there's very few people that I have any sort of, negative comments to make about throughout the circuit and this is my 13th season at Bass. And I still have yet to have a really bad experience with anyone. And Fujita's the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I don't hear people say anything. I mean, there's people that are against the way he fishes.
Sure.
Other than that, I've not heard anyone say anything negative about him. I mean, he's like anybody that is in his position. I mean, he's going to try and protect whatever he has, and what he's done is amazing. I mean,
unbelievable.
10 events,
yeah.
and he had 5 top 10s. Or no, that's his six top 10s, 2 victories. I mean, and 2 century belts. It's ridiculous.
Insane.
100-pound. What did he win with? 100 pounds, and I wrote it down. 13 ounces. So he was the only buddy in Toledo Bend that cracked the century belt. And I was honestly shocked we didn't see a 10-pounder from Toledo Bend. I expected us to see a double digit. I mean, it was. That being said, it was a phenomenal tournament with giant fish.
Unbelievable. I'll let me add this about Kyoya as well. So on day 4, he ran out of fish, and I felt like he was going to, because Patrick Walters, Fujita, Pat Schlapper was around that area. I'm trying to think of who. There were a lot of boats in that big. And what was that? What's it called? The House Cove or House Pocket or?
Yeah. Hausen. Is it Hausen? Is it whatever?
Something
it is.
like
Doesn't
that.
matter.
Whatever it is. There's a lot of people in there, and lots of locals. Locals fishing in those same spots. Tons of it, and no one was getting out of the way. And so I felt like, okay, if all these guys, I think there was 8 of the top 10 in that cove to start day 4. And Kyoya, I could feel him getting a little nervous because the fish weren't biting. He was still seeing the same fish, but they were either, they were fish that had been caught before. They weren't big enough because, if you're catching 4 and 5 pounders and you filled your limit with 5 pounders, you didn't have enough. You need to go find 6 pounders to win that tournament, right? So he moved. Day 3 was the first time he really moved, and he made a big run. I don't even know where we went. We made like 15 or 20 stops. He would put his trolling motor down, scan a few times, make a cast or 2. If he felt like that was a negative bite, we picked up and moved on. And then we finally came to a spot at like 1:30. He had 3 fish in the well at like 1:30 in the afternoon. He pulled up on a spot. He made, I would say, 10 or 12 casts. He caught a 4.5 and a 6 pounder. And that put him back into the top 5 going into weigh-ins for Championship Sunday. So then after he ran out of fish on Championship Sunday on day 4, he moved around the corner, not far, maybe a mile, if that, into a pocket, into this creek pocket. And he pulled up and he turned around, he looked at me, He said, I'll say it like he said it so it's more authentic. Okay. This is no slight on him at all.
Okay.
He said, today, this spot, same as practice weather. And I said, so you mean today's weather matches up to what you saw during practice? He goes, yeah, 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 yeah. He said, no, no day one, no day two, no day three have same pattern for this area. And he said, many 6-pounders here, many 6-pounders. And dude, he caught four, like within the next hour, he caught 4 6-pounders. Boom, boom, boom. Culled almost everything he had in his live well. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, he's getting ready to win this tournament. And it was one move into a spot where he matched the weather conditions to what he saw during practice and freaking won that tournament right there.
It was
And
an
that was
awesome,
badass.
yeah, it was an awesome victory. Him and Schlopper had been fishing the same area the whole time, and it's funny because on going out on day 3, Schlopper was like, "I'm worried that it's got too much pressure. There's too many locals fishing it."
Yeah, I remember he said that.
And he got him on day 3, but day 4 his fish seemed to burn out, and Kyoya obviously had that spot that won the tournament for him. And watch out for Schlopper in the future. I mean, he's a great angler. He's proved that. I mean, qualifying through the Opens and the Bass Nation. But one of the cool things when he responded, I texted him after the weigh-in on Sunday, and I texted him. I said, "Dude, I know this hurts, and
Yep, sorry. Yeah, I
it's
felt bad
it's
for him.
building towards something." And Schlopper responded. He said, and I thought it was cool at takeoff where he said, "I want Trey in this top 10 because other people are avoiding him. I know he's the target. He's the best at this right now." And so I thought that was cool. But then when I texted him, he said, I'm not as good as him yet. I'll keep training and I'll get there. But for Schlopper to look at it like that, where, I mean, anything I've ever lost, I come up with a bunch of excuses. For him to respond like that shows a lot about the kind of freaking animal that he is. And I think because he's soft spoken in some ways, people kind of discount him, but Schlopper is the real deal.
I think winners, I think really good, whatever sport it is, like let's just take, I remember when Georgia got thumped by Alabama in the national championship football game several
Roll
years
Tide.
ago. Everyone said that's what it takes. You have to go in and get stomped by the king to understand where you are and what you need to improve on to get to that level. And I think this is the same thing that he was saying, with Kyoya. Hey man, this is where you have to be to beat that guy. And it does build. It's just, you go back to Jason Christie's, classic win. That's the classic example of how much better you feel when you win after tripping up a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a great event. Very, obviously the prince
Ran away
dominated
with
this
it.
time. Wasn't the king. He was the prince that
The
dominated.
Prince.
That's all you got for T-Bend, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad we went back there. It's been a while, since 7 or
Oh
8
yeah.
years since we've
7
been back
years.
to Toledo Bend. And I'd heard that it kind of went downhill, and it's obviously making a
Fishing
huge
wise.
comeback.
Yeah.
Fishing wise. Yeah, 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 yeah.
No, it was great. Always awesome. Like when you go there and you see the same volunteers at parking and everything, they're just awesome people.
Huge
It's
crowd.
just
Good
massive
Lord.
crowd.
Good Lord.
Bigger than we've had. Like it's always a big crowd there, but I'll say our Saturday Sunday crowd this time around was even bigger. And
Thursday's crowd was big.
yeah,
It was big every day. Like, I was shocked when we came in on day one. Like, wow, this is freaking big.
big crowds can be big problems. Big
Yeah,
problems.
it can be. Yeah.
Um,
Especially in Louisiana.
well, let me tell you what happened to me because I've been saving this story for you.
Okay.
Only a very select few group of people know what happened, and it was everybody in the media trailer. So giant crowd there. I think this was Saturday or Sunday. It might have been Saturday. I think Saturday. Doesn't matter. Giant crowd there. I'm in the media trailer working with all those folks, and it's just, we should have a podcast from the media trailer. It's tomfoolery all day. We have a lot of fun. But anyways, I need to take a leak bad, and it's before weighing, and I go, and there was no backstage portalette or anything. There was a bunch of bathrooms, but they were all like out in the expo. So I go, and there's a giant lineup, and I'm like, yeah, I won't. You know what? I'm not going to stand out in the lineup. Didn't know if I had enough time. We're getting close to weigh-in time. So as we get close, more pressure. I need to take a leak, right? And I'm like, it must have been Saturday. It must have been Saturday, because Sunday I wouldn't worry. It's 10 anglers. I can get through that. So I'm like, man, I really need to take a leak. And I looked around, and I'm like, is there any alternative means? And there was no alternative. There was bathrooms out there, all of them with giant lineups. And I could be hey, can you let me go?
Sure.
But who wants to be that douche?
Sure.
So I'm just like, what am I going to do? Like, and it's getting closer. And now I'm like 5 minutes away from weighing. And I'm like, I'm going to pee during weigh-in if I don't pee. Like, and I don't have a choice. The line is bigger now. And to get out there, I mean, there's just massive amounts of people. And so we get joking in the trailer, because I've been whining about needing to pee for like 20 minutes. And they're like, there's a red Solo cups up there. Use those. And ultimately, that's what ended up happening. I go to the front of the trailer and get a red Solo cup. And I have like me and Overstreet here. Well, I did. And then I went back a minute later. I was like, I better get another one just in case. So I have like this little area that me and Overstreet share in the trailer, our office, which it's like a broom closet we get in the back. But I shut the door and I go in there and I fill up 2 red Solo cups, right? The good thing I brought a second one. So I fill one up, set on the table, put the other one down there. And nobody, I mean, it's all shit. Nobody knows. I mean, I told them what was about to happen in here, so nobody's walking in. Trust me. So I fill up these red Solo cups, and now I'm realized that I've got 2 red Solo cups full of pee, because red Solo cup, I filled it up. Rest in peace, Toby Keith. So I filled them both up, and I have these red Solo cups. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I mean, I can't leave them back here. And there's still a giant crowd. Like, as soon as you walk out of the trailer, there's people right there. I mean, it's kind of roped off, but they're like right there. So, I mean, it's not like I can just open the door and dump them or whatever. And this was like a party crowd. The Louisiana party crowd showed up. So
yeah,
dude,
they've all got Solo cups.
I come out of the trailer and I've got these 2 red Solo cups. And there's a group of people, and I hope they're listening to this, because they see me and they're like, Mercer, double fisting. And I'm like, hell yeah. And I hold up the cups. And then I'm like, well, I can't just dump them in. Now I had to walk down away, and I got rid of said Solo cups and dealt with it. But yeah, the public life isn't for everyone. Taylor Swift gets rolled around in a popcorn box or whatever she gets around arenas in. I have to pee in red Solo cups. But it was great. It was great. It worked out.
At least
good.
you got to relieve yourself, and
yes, yeah.
You'd have to cut in front of lines and be rude, and you got back out to the takeoff.
I think it's going to be a routine now. I think I'm just going to fill a couple.
Was that weigh-in or takeoff?
No, weigh-in. I mean, takeoff. I mean, the crowds aren't that. I mean, I could get. No, that was right before weigh-in. So, yeah, that's my embarrassing story from Toledo Bend that nobody but the media trailer knew. And I kind of joked, I'm going to tell that in the podcast. And they're like, no, you're not. There you go. I did. So next event, Lake Fork, always a freaking special event for me personally. That's where, I mean, if it wasn't for Toyota Texas Bass Classic, I don't have the job I have at Bass. That was the biggest event. The first big event I ever worked in the United States.
Wow.
It's so going back to Fork, to that community, it's weird. Like, there's so many people that I've known for so long. It's just a special place. And that new facility Sabine River Authority built, like,
oh man,
I thought of all the people that worked with the TTBC. Like, I mean, we had mudslides. We had to shut down the venue one year because it was, unsafe because there was so much rain. And then now Sabine River Authority's built like this world-class 700 acres of land and all that pavement and everything that, I mean, it's right up there with Green Pond Landing and all the world-class facilities. So kudos to them. Congrats to them. to
What
all
a
my
great
friends from the
facility.
TTBC days, Octagon, Gulf States, Toyota, wherever you're from. Would have been a lot easier with all that concrete. But without the TTBC, I don't think I'm here. I don't think that facility's there. You know what I mean? It kind of was the kickoff to world-class national events, and the Elite Series turned out to be the first national event held there at the
At
Caney
the new
Point
facility.
Recreation Area. Um,
Yeah, that's a cool place. Actually, it
incredible.
was incredible place. And a lot of people said this is what, Lake Hartwell did with Greens Pond. It's the same, like you said, they've invested in it. It's going to pay off for them. Would it take them 4 or 5 years to build that thing?
Yeah, and only $16 million.
Whoo! I mean, they carved out the cove so that the boats could get in and out of the wind, and there's a plenty of land space for the boats to come in and pull down and get up on the bank. I mean, that place is world class. And I mean, Toledo Bend's location our a location is way up there too, man. That's a nice place.
Yeah, no, it was both great venues and incredible crowds. Day one, Lake Fork, who you with?
Lee Livesay, the homeboy. I
Back to
knew
back champion. Nothing could stop him.
I knew I was going to be in his boat on day one, and obviously looking forward to a big day, knowing it's a different lake than we've had in the past 4 or 5 years because of the water levels and all the cover that's grown up and all that stuff. So it was interesting going out to see what was going to happen, and I don't know what happened. Lee, I think he caught 3 fish for about 8 pounds. He had a like a 2 pounder, a 1 pounder, and a 3.5 or a 4 pounder. And that was his whole day. I think he might have missed one or two, but nothing big. And everyone asked me when we came in, I think they were scared to ask Lee because of, where his mindset was because that has got to be a difficult position to be in when you're on your home lake. The expectations are high and you don't do well. Of course, we all know he's won there big in big ways. And to come back like that was, it's humbling and it's a big pill to swallow. And there was nothing crazy happened. I mean, he was around people catching fish. He did it both ways with live scope, and he went shallow. I think he had a little more success early on after his first location failed. He went to some shallow water and started casting a swim jig around and chatterbait, and it just never happened. And
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say other than the fact that he just couldn't get bit, and it was one of those days for him. I mean, even uh, Jason Williamson was in a spot where he had like 22 or 23 pounds early that morning. And, Lee knows all the ponds, underwater ponds on Lake Fork. And Jason said, man, go over there. I'm done. He went out there. He went out there to where Lee had just come from, literally casted a chatterbait into this little clump of grass and caught, a 3 or 4 pounder. And then Lee went into the pond where Jason had just come from openly and made a bunch of casts, never caught a fish, never got bit. We went into the bank to see if there were any up there spawning, and there was lots of fish up there swimming around. He just couldn't get bit. There's no excuses for it, no reason or rhyme to it, or rhyme or reason to it. He just didn't get bit. And that was day one.
Yeah, tough tournament for Lee. I mean, I think he weighed in 25 pounds the next day.
He did.
He actually went scoping, he said, to get that
He
25
did.
pounds. And maybe that's the tale of the story. We did have a big cold front move in. Maybe those fish, I mean, it sounds like those fish were up there and then something changed and all of a sudden, they weren't. So obviously there was a bit of a cold front pushed him back, and scoping ended up dominating that tournament. And although you weren't with Lee on day two, you found yourself right into the leader's boat. Who is
Takumi Ito. What'd he catch? 39 pounds on day one?
Yeah, day one, 39 pounds. Biggest bag of the tournament.
Well, here's some irony for you. So we roll out of takeoff. I'm with Taku, and we pull up to the first spot, and to my surprise, we went to the same exact spot that Lee Livesay won 2 years ago on. Same exact spot, literally the same trees, in front of the same trailer houses.
Wow.
I mean, it was the same exact spot that Lee won that tournament on. And I'm pretty sure between that and that back cove, there's a little bridge back in the back end of this cove where Justin Atkins and a few other guys that ended up making the top 10 were catching big fish. So I think both locations contributed to that 39-pound day that Taku had. But, you know, he had enough weight on day one where he didn't do as well on day two, and he slipped down the top 10 list, but he stayed in it. So I think, what did he catch on day two? Like 22 or 23 pounds, Taku?
Yeah, sounds about right.
And so he slid down to like third or fourth, I think in the lineup for day three. But, you know, it was, again, just fairly uneventful, but he was live scoping in the trees, and he caught quite a few fish. He just couldn't catch the same fish he caught on day one. But I thought it was interesting he went to that same spot that Lee won on 2 years ago.
Do you see any similarities between him and Fujita, the way they fish? Or, I mean, are they as different as their personalities are?
I think they're as different as their personalities are. And I thought about that. Who Taku has his own style, and you know, he's like a little kid in the boat. He's running around, he hooks up, he's very verbal and communicative, and you know, he gets shook up when he gets hooked up, especially when it's big one. He always says, big one, big one. Oh, no, 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 not so big. Or whatever he says, he's always entertaining. Whereas, you know, Kyoya is much more serious, and who he reminds me more of is Daisuke Aoki.
Yeah.
Their personalities are more similar than Taku for sure.
Their personalities don't allow them to order pizzas from the water. Like
Yeah.
he talked about pizza so much that the social media team
Blew up.
LA, who is incredible, the Bassmaster social media person. I was gonna say social media girl, but it sounds weird.
She's doing a great job, by the way.
Incredible. She does incredible stuff.
She's killing it. Killing it.
So ironically, they were going for pizza. I had no idea about it. And I was rushing back to the venue or something, and I wasn't going to be able to eat. So I asked her, where'd you get pizza? Because I thought I'll grab a slice somewhere quick. And she's like, she just told me about, I've got pizza here, but it's not for you. It's for Takumi. So I had to give said pizza to Takumi, and I didn't get any pizza, but some would say I don't need any
I heard
pizza.
John Cruz stole a piece out of his hands.
Did he? Frank Talley took mine. I mean, I took one of the box and I had taken 2 bites of it, and I set it on a nice clean spot on the way in. I mean, away from anything. And I watched it and I was like, it's warming up in the sun. It's going to be wonderful when I walk to the stage. Frank Talley saw it and grabbed it, and I slapped his hand. But he still ate it right off the ground. I mean, that shows how hungry a competitor he is.
Let me tell you how the pizza conversation started. It was very similar to how Smallmouth Disneyland started up on Lake Ontario, and that he catches a fish, and he's talking about the baits, and he goes, I said something like, does that make you happy? And he said, yes, very happy. Taco, very happy. Like, I want to eat a pizza. And he started talking about how, I think I heard Davey or someone mention what he was talking about with pizza, and how he related that to how children like it. It's like Christmas for them. And so I heard the commentary. I think it was Davey or someone said that he thinks that they have pizza in Japan on Christmas, because that's what he was talking about. What was really he was talking about was they don't get to eat pizza very much in Japan. So when his son loves pizza, and when they have pizza at home, his son like gets all excited like it's Christmas morning. That's what he was relating that to. And that's how the whole freaking pizza thing started. So then I asked Taku, I said, "Well, what's your favorite kind of pizza?" And he said veggie, but he couldn't understand what he was saying. 'Cause I can't even say it like he said it. But I said, "So you want veggie pizza?" And he goes, "Yeah, pepperoni, okay. Everybody love a pepperoni, but I like a veggie pizza. I like it all over my pizza, veggie." That's how the whole pizza thing started.
Well, he got a pizza. He got a
He
pizza
did.
out of it. Um, so obviously you ended up out of his boat, spent the first 2 days with our first, second, and third day with him. And then
Day
you end
two
up
and
with
day
Ben
three.
Milliken, who clearly you have stuff you want to talk about.
I was really, really, I always have fun with Taku, and that was fun. But day three was a little quieter because his weight went downhill after that. And on day four, I knew seen my assignment the night before. I was going to be in Milliken's boat. And while I haven't officially met, like I've never gone up and said, "Hi, my name's Jake Latendresse. Hi, my name's Ben Milliken." We've kind of known about each other because he and Lee Livesay are friends. And when I was in Texas last winter with Lee fishing, he had been on speakerphone and of course social media. Ben's a fan of the Mercer show, so he's seen Jake's take, and we kind of knew each other, but didn't really. So I was really excited to get into Milliken's boat because of who he is, what he's done, and all that surrounds him. And I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that this was going to be a fun day and he was going to catch fish. So
Okay. And so how did the day, I mean, I feel like there's more to it. How did the day go?
yeah, so um it started out slow. He was catching his fish, but he didn't have the weight that he wanted to, and he kept talking about this location that he called the money tree. And he goes, "I'm just waiting for the day to warm up. If I really need to go to the money tree, I'm going to go to the money tree. That may be my one of my last stops." So one of the things that I've learned about Ben is how much he knows about the details in what he's seeing on front facing sonar. And so he uses a 22-inch NBT screen, but he's also got a
Are you
15
trying to get a
inch.
freaking free screen or what?
God, I would
I mean, you are
love one.
working it
I would
today.
love
You are working it.
one.
Continue.
And so he's got a 15-inch Garmin screen that's on perspective mode. So he's running one front facing sonar on the big screen, and then on another fairly large screen, he's got perspective mode running at the same time. So he pulls up to the spot. I think it was his first spot. And on perspective mode, he wasn't hiding anything. He had nothing to hide. He said, "You can film whatever you want. I'll explain what I'm seeing as we're going through the day. No problem." He's all about educating people, which we know is what he does with his YouTube and his seminars on all that stuff. So he's like, "Jake, can you see this? Can you see this perspective mode screen?" And I zoomed in on, I said, "Yeah." And there's like 20 beds in deep water that you can clearly see on this perspective mode. And you can see the females skirting the perimeters of this bedding area, and the males in there running each other off and staking their claim to the beds and doing what buck bass do pre-spawn. And he catches a few fish out of there, but what I found to be so intriguing was how much he knows about just the positioning of the fish and how to read his graphs and what to do when he sees a certain scenario and then make those casts. It's like it or not, it's fascinating watching him and listening to him explain what he's seeing on that screen.
So he obviously had a good, I mean, didn't win the tournament, but had a great event. I mean, great, made the cut in the first two elites. I mean, him and Trey McKinney are co-leaders in both the Progressive Bassmaster Angler of the Year and the Dakota Lithium Rookie of the Year. And obviously that is not something we're used to seeing.
No, I mean, I don't think it's any, I don't think, I mean, is it really, are you surprised to see Ben sitting where he's sitting right now in the elites with the success that he's had over the past two events?
No, no, of course not. And I think I'm more surprised by, if you look at our Angler of the Year leaderboard, I'm more surprised by some of the names that aren't up there. I mean, this has definitely been a big shift in things. Is the only way to explain it. I mean, there's a lot of anglers, but I'll say this: there's a lot of anglers that went into some of these tournaments with a very different mindset than I've seen from them in the past. Right or wrong, they are. I mean, most super successful anglers, never mind that super successful people that I know, spend a lot of time not worrying about others. They spend, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They're focused on whatever their task is.
Sure.
There's never been a time in the Elite Series where I've had more stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm wherever you are, there's no right or wrong. It's just opinions, but there's a lot of opinions floating around right now. And there was a lot of people going into events that were thinking about what other people are going to do. I don't know, dude. I mean, it's one of those weird. Do you ever remember it feeling like this on the Elite
No,
Series? By far
no,
the most hated rookies that we've ever had. Like
yeah, hate. Yeah.
hate's a strong word. I get it. And I get some of, dude, when I started my job at Bass,
Concerned.
there was a breaking through period with some anglers. You know what I mean? Like, you're the new guy in the factory. So I understand some of that, but it's definitely different this year.
It's a wave. It wasn't like when, Brandon Polinick and Justin Lucas came into the league. There's a few young guys. I mean, there's always been you know, a trickle of new guys coming up from the opens into the league, but this is a wave, and it's not just this year and the EQ qualifiers that made it into the elites this year. If you look into the opens, they're all standing there waiting in line, and they're competing at a high level in the opens to get to this. So we're looking at it like, dude, next year there's going to be 9 more of them, and next year there's going to be 9. It's like it's an endless wave of people, and so that's really intriguing. But I would like to say two things about Ben Milliken that I was fortunate enough to spend the day with him. And one is I want to get to the money tree, because he finally went to the money tree, and he he put his trolling motor down, and he eased in on it, because he told me, he said, we're going to pull up on this tree, and you wait and see, there'll be 7 to 10 pounders under this tree. And it's this little patch of timber where all the trees are vertical, and there was one in there that was leaned at a 45-degree angle. And that's where those fish were laying, suspended right underneath it. So we ease up to it, and he drops his trolling motor, and he pulls up, and he goes, there they are. And they're all lined up like a in a like a batting lineup in order, and they're all humongous fish. You can just tell. And so he makes a few casts. There's totally no positive reaction whatsoever. So he changes direction and goes all the way around. He gets his bait hung up on a limb, and he's like, dang it. That's not what he said, but and he rolls in there, and he goes in and to get his bait, and he goes, look, they all scattered. He scattered the fish. And he's like, well, maybe this is this could turn into be something interesting, because now all these fish that are laying under this log are all neutral. Now they're scattered back out into the open water. They're probably all going to come back to this tree and settle in again once they're not spooked by the boat. And I'm pretty sure he made a cast out there onto one of those fish that he found that had scattered, and he got bit. He lost it, and it was a big one because he had his rod way up. That fish came unbuttoned, but I think he learned something. We all learned something new there, where he scattered those fish and then they became a little more active or a little more aggressive because they weren't where they were. And I found that to be extremely fascinating. And like I said, even guys that have been doing this for a long time, they all learn something new every time they go out with their scopes. It was I just thought it was unbelievable. And as we went around the tree, he told me, he goes, watch. And again, we talk about, when you see a big bass on front facing sonar, it a lot of times it looks like this, okay, minus that part. It's just a hot line with deep, dense, bright hot spot on it from the light in the scope. And as we were going around the tree, you could see they always stayed elliptical like that. They always stayed vertical like that. Every now and then you'd see a tail come out of the back side of it to tell how big it was. But the point that he made with me was, watch, they know we're here because we went all the way around this tree, scoping them the entire time, and they were facing us the entire time. Those fish turned and faced the
Wow.
boat the entire time. That was the story that I wanted to get to, because I felt like, those fish, they know they're facing us the entire time, knowing that was a sketchy situation. There's a boat in front of us, and they didn't bite until he scattered them.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Very cool. Very, very cool.
And the
Huh. And
fact that he pointed that out and he was vocal about it and he wanted us to learn from it tells you really what you want to know about Ben Milliken. He had nothing to hide, and he doesn't shy away from debates or controversy or anything. He's there. He'll meet anyone that wants to talk to him anywhere, anytime on the dock or wherever, to talk about whatever they want to talk about. He is so open with his information, and I found that to be very refreshing and relieving of what you might think about Ben Milliken based on what his haters might say about him. He's not, dude. I just want to clear the air about him. I like Ben Milliken, and I like what he was all about. I like what he stands for. He's a family man. He's extremely involved with his wife and children. And he's just another guy that found a way to make a living in the sport, and he's doing a really good job at it.
and he's great for tournament fishing. I mean, to me,
Great for tournament
if
fishing.
I'm part of the Elite Series, I want as many people like that as we can get. You
I
know what I
agree.
mean? And that's not because he's new. I mean, I want as many Gerald Swindles. I want as many Carl Jacobsons. I mean, I hate even naming anybody. Brandon Polnick. Like, you just keep going on and on. The Elite Series gets stronger because Jordan Lee came back. You know what I mean? As many
Right.
people as bring their fan base with them. And in my experience with Milliken's the exact same, where even when he was doing the opens, it's incredibly refreshing that he doesn't hold back. Like, when you talk to him, you're like, how's fishing? He'll tell you exactly what he's seen, what he thinks will play out in the tournament. And for the most part, he's been dead on. And now he has two events. Like, I mean, just when we start talking about Kyoya's record being, so incredible, and it is, you got to start talking about Milliken and Trey McKinney. And, I mean, they're a lot more events ahead. They fished two tournaments. That's it on the Bassmaster Elite Series. But it's been pretty impressive so far.
Ben Milliken's move. I used to live in Nebraska. I lived on Lake McConaughey for 10 years. So we had that common denominator going to just to talk about the state of Nebraska and where he came from. And his move to Texas, in my opinion, was so smart because he went down, and while he stumbled across, OHIV, and no one knew about it, no, he didn't know about it. That was a complete
Yeah, he talked about that.
spontaneous situation. It was an accidental. He tripped into the water because that's the only lake he could get his boat in at the time. And for him to go out and find what he found there, to me, was fate. Like that you don't just whatever you believe in as a higher being, to me, that was just like that. To me, that was fate. And so what I relate his knowledge to, and what I felt like I was expecting getting in his boat on the last day at Fork, was this guy has seen so many double digit bass, excuse me, 10 plus pounders, that he knows, because the detail in front facing sonar is understanding what you're looking at and then being able to execute the cast and, you know, creating the bite and all that stuff. But you have to know what you're looking at first. And he's seen so many double digit bass on front facing sonar now, from OHIV to the other lakes that he's explored since he moved to Texas, that I knew, and my expectation was he's going to know, he's probably going to bypass smaller fish, and he's going to know when he's in the 7 to 10 pounders, which is what you needed to win that tournament. And that is exactly what we got. And I knew that when we went to his first location and he went back in this creek where the fish were starting to spawn, and he could tell, he's like, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of, every single one of those fish right there that you're looking at on my graph, those are all 7 and 8 pounders right there. He knows what they look like. And that, to me, is a huge advantage. And it's not the technology, it's understanding how to read the technology.
Yeah. And it's knowing, I mean, it's the exact same when we talk about watching Livesay land 8 pounders. He lands 8 pounders like somebody who has landed a lot of 8 pounders. And
Exactly. Experience.
Milliken's move, while everybody thought it was all about content, I mean, sure, he's got a lot of content, but obviously his dream all along is to be here in the Elite Series, and freaking dream is coming true in a two-way tie with Trey McKinney, who he speaks incredibly highly of and has the whole way through the opens. They actually roomed together for the Fork event. I think one of the first events they roomed together. But did you ever think we'd have a 19-year, like, I mean, when Jay Shakurat won a couple of years ago, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be tough to have someone younger than that win an Elite Series event. Well, Trey McKinney wins it in his 19th birthday, not just 19th birthday, or as a 19-year-old, but he turned 19 the like Sunday before. It's his first weekend as a 19-year-old, and he's out there winning an Elite Series event.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back in time, you talk about, if you ask KVD, he was 18 when he came into the professional ranks, right?
I don't think so. I think it was like 21.
Was
Maybe
it?
he
I'm just
fished a
thinking.
tournament when he was 19, but he did horrible. His
Bill,
first tournament was like 198th or something.
Bill Dance came in when he was 18. There.
Bill Dance was
I'm not.
never 18. You're a liar.
Yeah, that's like 100 years ago. Sorry, Bill. But my point is that there are some legendary anglers that came in at a really young age, sustained careers over a long period of time, and those are people that wrote their own history chapters in the history books of the cast and Bassmaster. So, you
Yeah.
know, like Trey said on stage when you were talking to him when he won, he's very well spoken. He's very um he's in
Polished.
tune, polished. Yeah,
Seems
that's the right
older than
word.
19.
He does. And he said it, he said it best. He said, I hope there's no arrogance about him whatsoever. He knows what he's doing. And he said up on stage, he said, I just hope, this turns into I'm happy to be here. I'm humbled to be here, but I hope this turns into, a long career for me. And I think we both know that it probably is going to.
Well, I mean, and he's one of those. There's a few of them that float around, but he's one of those that we've been hearing about for years. I mean, Terry Brown talked about him years and years
Yeah.
ago about this young kid and how he's different. I mean, I've talked to his grandfather at takeoff and his mom and dad, and it's like this has been a family goal, not just his goal, but they're supporting their kid, and it's pretty awesome to see. I mean, his only weakness that I've exposed is early mornings. Like a lot of 19-year-olds, not much of a morning person. Like he shows up to take off and his hat's all up and his hair's everywhere, and he's just a train wreck. But by the time we talk to him on a microphone and everything, he's so polished and so put together. Lord knows what his future is, but there's a ton of those. Like, I mean, you look at all of these rookies.
JT Tompkins,
JT Tompkins,
Tyler
Williams is, to me, I mean, he's incredible. He's the Fozzie Bear of
This is
fishing.
fun.
Somebody told me that he's the barefoot Buddha. There's all sorts of different things. Like, but that's why I started calling him the main event, because he's the only angler from Maine. And dude, people are gonna love this kid. He's
great.
the perfect mixture of John Cox, Greg Hackney, and Kenny Powers. And the funny thing was, I called him that on live, and I said, I actually called him a chunky Kenny Powers. And I said, does that bother you? And he said, no, it doesn't bother me. And I said, do you know who Kenny Powers is? He's like, I have no idea. He doesn't even know who. Like these kids, Wesley Gore. I mean, he made a top 10 the last event, 11th in the other event. Like literally every name on that list. And this is 2 events after a season where we had 4 rookie wins. 4 titles were taken by rookie anglers out of 9 events last year. And you're like, yeah, this is never going to happen again. Well, what's happening right now? We had 5 rookies make the cut in Fork. And I think 2 or not the cut, but the top 10 cut on Fork. And then 2 of them made it on the same
Toledo Bend.
Not the same 2. Same 2 guys made the cut, which wasn't just rookies. It was obviously Coop, who is a year into his career, and Ben, both made both cuts. But it's incredible. Like, and here's the other thing that we don't, while everybody's arguing about technology, here's one thing we don't hear anymore. Remember 10 years ago when people are like, there's not a lot of kids in this sport. Is this sport going to die because there's no kids in it? Well, now people are saying the sport's dying because of the damn kids. Like
the kids are killing it.
It's strange times, really.
It really is. I talked to JT Tompkins backstage before Trey can't pull, when he pulled around to weigh in. And I said, congratulations, man. What you guys are doing is really phenomenal. And dude, he looked up at me and he looked straight in my eyes and said, you have no idea. This isn't even the best rookie class that's going to come out of the opens yet. There are some freaking hammers back there like you don't even know about yet. And I was just like, okay. I mean, I didn't say, oh, whatever. I thought, wow, that's incredible. And I want to tell you a little story about Cooper Gallant too. This is a pretty cool story. So at what time was it? 2:00 or 1:45 on day 4. He's the only one in the top 10 that hasn't surpassed the century belt mark yet, right?
But before that, to get into the top 10, he knocked out Matty Wong to get into the top 10 on Saturday, semifinal Saturday at 2:54. So that's 6 minutes before he had to check in.
Clutch.
Tell me what happened Sunday.
Okay, now listen to this clutch. So it's at like 1:45 or I don't even remember. It was late. I mean, it was like, dude, he's not going to get it. And how bad is he going to feel on stage being the only one in the top 10 that didn't get his century belt, right? So he finally catches it, and I'm actually I'm watching Bass Track, and I'm like, yes, because I heard it on comm too that he caught. I think it was a 5.5 pounder to get him over that mark. And I was like, yes, I love Cooper. He's a great kid. And so we're backstage after he had already weighed in, and we're standing to your stage left behind the screen. And he goes, I said, congratulations, man. I said, I'm really glad you caught that fish. And he goes, you want to hear something really crazy about it? I said, yeah. He said, I caught that fish on a jerk bait. I was live scoping. I threw a jerk bait out there. I caught it and got it to the boat, and the line broke like 10 inches up the leader when I caught it, and it got away. And I stayed on him with my live scope, and I followed him around until he settled down, and I casted another jerk bait out there, and I caught him again with my jerk bait in his mouth, and that was the fish that got him over the century mark. And that was his
Wow.
last fish that he caught that day. How cool is that?
And even crazier, it happened twice that
Right.
week. I mean, Trey
Right.
McKinney, our eventual champion, I think it was day 3, did the same thing, or 2 or 3. He did the same
Similar,
thing where
yeah.
he had broke off a fish and ended up catching that fish a half hour, 45 minutes later, and it has his jerk bait in its mouth. So
Right.
those kids are pretty good at that scoping stuff. That's what that
They
tells
really
me.
are. They really are.
What is going to happen with it in the future? Nobody knows. I don't know. There's days where I'm like, yeah, it's not the bass fishing I grew up with. It's never going to be Steve Kennedy catching a fish on a frog. You know what I mean? An 8-pound, like all of those moments. But there's a lot, like we have 10 century belts this week. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I
The
don't know.
electricity, just the electricity in the crowd, wasn't like there was any sort of letdown. I mean, it was exciting, and I felt like the crowd was into it. The electricity was in the air. I mean, the end of Fort felt like a huge event. I mean,
Yeah, and it
it was
had every
like,
reast not to. Like,
I
think
know
about it.
exactly.
We
That's
don't freeze the scale like they used to in TTBC days. Trust me, I
right.
fought, but I lost. Um, if you freeze the scale, like, and I'll remind people, just imagine how exciting that weigh-in would have been. Is if we freeze the scale with 2 hours left to go. If you look at how many
Right.
things ended up changing and different, you wouldn't have known Coop got in the Century Club. You wouldn't have known any of these things.
Right.
And then boom, we would have been revealed on the stage. Could have been even better than the moment was. But you're right, it was an electric weigh-in. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's still just the crowd is no different than the anglers. They're divided too, because you will get some people up there that will mention they don't like scoping. And then I mean, at one point, I forget who it was, somebody yelled, "Amen, brother." Like, it was just like there is
Right.
some people, so you can feel like there's a part of the crowd that doesn't like it. There's a part of the crowd that does like it. It's a freaking crazy time in the sport. What'll
It
happen in the
really,
future, who knows? But I think we got to be thankful too for what it. I mean, dude, we just had 2 incredible events with monster weights and monster crowds, and you got younger anglers than ever before showing up. It's all, those are all positives.
I think 2 things. One is I had a high number of people sending in feedback on my social media accounts that were saying, I think I had 1 or 2 people that were negative about it, and they were very respectful with their negativity, if I can say it that way. But the rest of the comments that I got back in private messages and even in the public were positive. And even one guy said he's been watching this for a long time, and that was Sunday at Lake Fork was the most entertaining day he's ever seen on Bassmaster Live. That's what he told me. I'm not saying whether it is or it isn't. That's
It's
just what he told me.
pretty damn entertaining.
Yeah.
It's no, it's and here's the weird thing about all the social crap that's going on about this. There's one group that we hardly hear from, and that's the group that thinks it's great. You know what I mean? Like, they're the group
Hmm.
that wants it gone is very vocal. But the
Hmm.
moment, let's just say, a genie landed and Bass said tomorrow it's going to be illegal moving forward, you can only use it in pre-fish, you can't compete with it or whatever. That other group is going to rear up and we're going to hear from them. It's a weird time in the sport, but there's a lot to be thankful for. And it's the only time I've ever talked about a post tournament and realized that a bunch of people that I'm friends with are going to watch this and they're going to judge me because I went one direction or the other. You know what I mean? Like just in defending the rookies, I know there's going to be people that are like, well, I just think it's just a.
We're just calling it like it is.
Or like, no, wait, we can't even say we're calling it like it is. I'm calling it like I see it right now.
Sure. Same.
And that's the one thing about this debate that's bothered me is there's a lot of people out there presenting opinions as facts, and they're not. If they do become facts one day, that's a different story. But it is a polarizing topic.
The guy that I always go back to, excuse me, the guy that I always go back to and the comment that I always go back to when I start going back and forth on it is the guy that's seen it all. And that's Rick Clunn and his opinion about it, where he's open to it and embracing it because he's seen the changes, the technology, all the advancements, through, I mean, even so sorry.
Yeah,
Even
very unprofessional.
even the comment that he made about Ray Scott wanting to ban flipping, that when he's, when you guys talked about that on your podcast, that was intriguing to me because
I don't know that Ray Scott wanted to.
Oh, I thought he said Ray wanted to ban it.
I'd have to go back and listen, but I just felt like there was people that wanted to ban it, but maybe it was Ray. Watch that podcast and we'll find out.
I feel
maybe it was.
Y'all can
better than me.
Y'all can stop me if I'm wrong, but I feel like what he said was that Ray is actually the one that wanted to ban it from his tournaments, and he decided not to. And so again, where does it end, Dave? I don't know. I don't really care. I just know that Bassmaster is growing. It's unbelievable how things have transpired in the last 5 years, really, and what's going on now, and how exciting it is. How exciting! I have a lot of friends that are actually going. They're driving from different places, from Alabama, and like ladies that I know that don't have anything to do with bass fishing, that are literally driving to Tulsa to go to the Bassmaster Classic this year, just from sheer exposure and excitement of the sport itself.
Yeah. There's a lot of excitement around it. I'm gonna love bass fishing always, regardless of what it is. I love this sport. Everything evolves and everything changes. You can't. I don't know what I mean, I am so like, I don't even know what to say because there's no right way to deal with it. Like it's just a weird time. And there's people who look at it black and white, but you can't, you know what I mean? You can't, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, there's been times in people's businesses, and I'm sure people are listening to this. I remember years ago, people that were friends with my parents and stuff like that. And I remember listening to them as a kid complaining about these hotshot employees that came in and didn't really know the job. They were doing it on computers. And they didn't really know like they did. They didn't really get their hands in the dirt, so to speak. Salespeople that, these kids are using a GPS to get around, this automated cold calls. They don't just, like they're new.
All kinds of stuff.
It's weird, dude. Like the fact that we're talking to each other on essentially the Jetsons video phone that
100%.
When I was a kid seemed like it is never going to happen.
And we wish we had one so bad when we were kids. Just like the Jetsons.
Like, dude, when you were a kid, if your parents said, we know somebody with a video phone, you would have traveled freaking hours just to see said video phone. Mm-hmm. And now you can do it from your pockets. Like I mean, literally the only thing the Jetsons got wrong was the flying car. And where the hell is it? I mean, it's about time.
Well,
And
they've got drones now that are they're
yeah.
don't speak too soon.
Soon we'll be covering tournaments
Yeah.
with jetpacks. Just gonna fly on over here to Gerald Swindle.
We're already doing it with drones
Yeah.
on
It's so
live.
fast though. Like look at in just the period that Live's been around, which isn't that long. Like look at how it went from anglers hiding their baits to helicopters having to cover them to drones. And now when I'm at a Bassmaster event, it's more often there's a drone above me that there isn't a drone above me. Like takeoffs, and they're not just basses, they're everybody's. And
People quit looking up. Like they don't even look up at drones anymore. When you hear
like a car alarm.
the flying weed eater come in, you don't look up anymore because it's so common. There was one last thing I wanted to ask you about was about the guy sitting in the porta-john watching the Mercer show.
Allegedly. I mean, first of all,
No,
thank
I
you
know
to,
it. Go ahead. I want you to retell me the story in your short version, and then I'm going to give you a final result on that.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you to all the humpers that continue to come up at events and everything. It is amazing. You guys are awesome. I'm humbled every time to meet everybody that you take your time out of your week to listen to our tomfoolery. Thank you.
Yes.
But I've heard from several of the judges. They said, "Were you doing a live podcast this morning?" And I'm like, "No. I just been here announcing boats." And they said, "Well, it was being broadcast." I'm like, "Being broadcast?" They said, "Yeah, in the like we had a fancy portalet at Texas, like the the VIP ones with stairs up to them and such. In that portalet, allegedly in the morning, they were playing this podcast, not this episode, a previous episode, but people were listening to it. And I was like, you need to get me a video. They checked the next day and it was not that was playing, but I wanted a video just so I could say we are number one in the number two business. What more do you know?
So, Dave, the marshal that I had in my boat on day 4 at Lake Fork was the guy that was sitting on the toilet in the porta potty watching Mercer, because he told me, he was talking about how much he enjoyed the show and all that stuff. And he told me, he goes, I was in the porta potty and I could hear someone asking me if I was watching the Mercer podcast from the other porta potty. It was him.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
it made quite a stirring. So thank you. So we're officially, or at least for that guy, number one in the number two business. We probably pissed some people off, Jake.
That's all
right. Do you think we made anyone happy?
I don't know, Dave.
Like even the rookies. I didn't mention Kyle Patrick and a whole bunch of others. I feel like we're just this. The guy in the portalet was happy, right?
Yeah, he was very happy, and Taku was happy with his pizza. Trey McKinney was happy with his trophy. There were 10 people very happy with their new belts, and Kyoya Fujita was very happy with his win. So congratulations, all those people. That was an exciting 10-day span. That was incredible, and I can't wait to get to the Classic. I'm really looking forward to it. What do you think is going to happen?
Lord
I
only
knew you
knows.
were going to do that. That's why I asked that question.
I don't know what's going to happen. But I did, like when some people were bitching at me about the rookies. I was like, well, here's the great news. Hardly any of them are in the Classic.
That's right.
But Milliken is.
Milliken is there.
And Kyle Patrick is. And Tyler Williams is. And see, again, I probably forgot somebody else that is.
Is Trey in it?
No.
He didn't win an Open?
2 seconds last year. He did not win. But he's going to be busy. You imagine how here's the weird thing. You're 19 years old. You just won an Elite. In one of the weirdest, most controversial times in the sport. And the next event is the Bassmaster Classic that you're going into. You're not even fishing, but you just happen to be leading Dakota Lithium Rookie of the Year, co-leading Dakota Lithium Rookie of the Year, and co-leading Progressive Bassmaster Angler of the Year. And you're 19. I would be a freaking Like, dude,
at
there's
the
no way
expo.
yeah.
He's probably going to get more out of this his first year being at the expo than he would be out on the lake fishing. Like, it's going to be insane for him.
If that was me, I'd probably not make the second day. Like, I'd make the first day of the expo, and then it would just, I'd implode. And
Too tired,
I got
exhausted, stuff to do. Hey, I got to say one other thing. I'm distracted by that one bobblehead in the back there. Is that Jake beside the new Pat Slapper bobblehead?
Oh, yeah, Jace from
Oh, Jace from Buck Commander or
yeah,
Duck
yeah,
Commander
Si's
or
right behind him. Bob Marley,
okay,
Alan.
Jace. I thought it said
Wow.
Jake.
Well, you
I
think
could
that you self-absorbed
no
son
no
of a
no no. I don't look like that guy. I actually look more like the Bruce Lee one on the Top Shelf by Marilyn Monroe than I do Jace.
wow. You sure?
I, I actually often do look at your bobbleheads when I'm looking at your screen. Just so you
That's how entertaining I am. You look right through me into the bobbleheads. Well, this has been a fun chat. You'll be back here again in the future. We got the classic coming up, and thank you. Now let's read the comments. They'll be entertaining.
yeah. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everyone.
You made it. You made it. We're at the end. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Either you really enjoyed this or you just fell asleep listening to it. Either way, I thank you. And if you enjoyed this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, leave reviews in all the streaming platforms, and help keep the grow going. You have made this little podcast something that I'm pretty dang proud of, and I thank you guys for that. Have a great week. Enjoy being. And until next time, Bob Cobb, take it away.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?